To gentles all attending, be you well, and set thy sundry comforts close at hand. The hour is ripe for Henry's cast to tell his story from the inter-ether land. The good saints Crispin and Crispinian, twin Romans who walked far in their own shoes, preached long devout, then gave tragedians twin martyrs upon whom to write and muse. October late they died, or so 'tis said. This day we fete, while winter's ice doth loom, by sharing words and art and breaking bread, as we full gather round this hearth of Zoom. And we are glad, we happy few, this day, to set up on this virtual stage and play.
Our king went forth to Normandy with grace and might of chivalry. There God for him wrought marvelously, wherefore England may call and greet. Deo gratias, Deo gratias, Anglia, Rede pro victoria. He set a siege to fall to say, to Harfleur town with royal array. The town he won and made a fray, that France shall rue until doomsday. Deo gratias, Deo gratias, Anglia, Rede pro victoria.
Oh, for a muse of fire that would ascend the brightest heaven of invention, a kingdom for a stage, princes to act, and monarchs to behold the swelling scene. Then should warlike Harry, like himself, assume the part of Mars, and at his heels, leashed in like hounds, should famine, sword, and fire crouch for employment. But pardon, and gentles all, the flat unraised spirits that have dared upon this unworthy scaffold to bring forth so great an object. Can this cockpit hold the vasty fields of France? Or may we cram within this wooden O the very casks that did affright the air at Agincourt? Oh, pardon, since a crooked figure may attest in a little place a million, and let us, ciphers to this great accompt, on your imaginary forces work. Suppose within the girdle of these walls are now confined two mighty monarchies, whose high upreared and abutting fronts the perilous narrow ocean parts asunder. Piece out our imperfections with your thoughts. Into 1,000 parts divide one man and make imaginary puissance. Think when we talk of horses that you see them printing their proud hooves in the receiving earth. For 'tis your thoughts that now must deck our kings, carry them here and there, jumping o'er times, turning the accomplishment of many years into an hourglass. For the which supply, admit me chorus to this history, who prologue like your humble patience pray, gently to hear and kindly to judge our play. Act 1, Scene 1. London. an antechamber in the king's palace. Enter the Archbishop of Canterbury and the Bishop of Ely.
My lord, I'll tell you, that self-bill is urged, which in the 11th hour of the last king's reign was like, and had indeed against us passed, but that the scrambling and unquiet time did push it out of farther question.
But how, my lord, shall we resist it now?
It must be thought on. If it pass against us, we lose the better half of our possession. For all the temporal lands which men devout by testament have given to the church would they strip from us, being valued thus, as would maintain, to the king's honour, full 15 earls and 1,500 knights, 6,200 good esquires, and to relief of lazars and weak age, of indigent faint souls past corporeal toil, 100 almshouses right well supplied, and to the coffers of the king besides, 1,000 pounds by the year. Thus runs the bill.
This would drink deep.
'Twould drink the cup and all.
But what prevention?
The king is full of grace and fair regard.
And a true lover of the Holy Church.
The courses of his youth promised it not. The breath no sooner left his father's body, but that his wildness, mortified in him, seemed to die too. Yea, at that very moment consideration, like an angel, came and whipped the offending Adam out of him, leaving his body as a paradise to envelop and contain celestial spirits. Never was such a sudden scholar made. Never came reformation in a flood with such heady currents scouring faults. Nor never hydra-headed willfulness so soon did lose his seat, and all at once in this king.
We are blessed in the change.
Hear him but reason in divinity, and all admiring, with an inward wish, you would desire the king were made prelate. Hear him debate of commonwealth affairs, you would say it hath been all in all his study. List his discourse of war, and you shall hear a fearful battle rendered you in music. Turn him to any cause of policy, the Gordian knot of it he will unloose, familiar as his garter, that when he speaks the air, a chartered libertine is still, and the mute wonder lurketh in men's ears to steal his sweet and honeyed sentences. So that the art and practic part of life must be the mistress to this theoric, which is a wonder how his grace should glean it, since his addiction was to courses vain, his companies unlettered, rude, and shallow, his hours filled up with riots, banquets, sports, and never noted in him any study, any sequestration, any retirement from open haunts and popularity.
The strawberry grows underneath the nettle, and wholesome berries thrive and ripen best neighbored by fruit of baser quality. And so the prince obscured his contemplation under the veil of wildness, which no doubt grew like the summer grass, fastest by night, unseen yet perceived in his faculty.
It must be so, for miracles are ceased, and therefore we must needs admit the means how things are perfected.
But, my good lord, how now for mitigation of this bill urged by the commons? Doth his majesty incline to it, or no?
He seems indifferent, or rather swaying more upon our part than cherishing the exhibitors against us. For I have made an offer to his majesty upon our spiritual convocation, and in regard of causes now in hand, which I have opened to his grace at large, as touching France, to give a greater sum than ever at one time the clergy yet did to his predecessors part withal.
How did this offer seem received, my lord?
With good acceptance of his majesty, save that there was not time enough to hear, as I perceive his grace would fain have done, the severals and unhidden passages of his true titles to some certain dukedoms, and generally to the crown and seat of France, derived from Edward, his great-grandfather.
What was the impediment that broke this off?
The French ambassador, upon that instant, craved audience, and I think the hour is come to give him hearing. Is it 4 o'clock?
It is.
Then go we in to know his embassy, which I could with a ready guess declare, before the Frenchmen speak a word of it.
I'll wait upon you, and I long to hear it.
Exeunt. Act 1, Scene 2. London, the presence chamber in the king's palace. Enter Enter King Henry V, the Duke of Exeter, the Earl of Westmoreland, and their retinue.
Where is my gracious Lord of Canterbury?
Not here in presence.
Send for him, good uncle.
Shall we call in the ambassador, my liege?
Not yet, my cousin. We would be resolved before we hear him of some things of weight that task our thoughts concerning us and France.
Enter the Archbishop of Canterbury and the Bishop of Ely.
God and his angels guard your sacred throne, and make you long become it.
Sure, we thank you. My learned lord, we pray you to proceed and justly and religiously unfold why this law salique that they have in France, or should not, bar us in our claim. And God forbid, my dear and faithful lord, that you should fashion, wrest, or bow your reading. More nicely charge your understanding soul with opening titles miscreant, whose right suits not in native colors with the truth. For God doth know how many now in health shall drop their blood in approbation of what your reverence shall incite us to. Therefore take heed how you impawn our person, how you awake our sleeping sword of war. We charge you in the name of God, take heed. For never two such kingdoms did contend without much fall of blood, whose guiltless drops are every one a woe, a sore complaint against him whose wrong gives edge unto the swords that make such waste and brief mortality. Under this conjugation, speak, my lord, for we will hear, note, and believe in heart that which you speak is in your conscience washed, as pure as sin with baptism.
Then hear me, gracious sovereign, and you peers that owe yourselves, your lives and services to this imperial throne. There is no bar to make against your highness claim to France, but this which they produce from Pharamond, in terram salicam mulieris ne succedant. No woman shall succeed in Salic land, which Salic land the French unjustly gloze to be the realm of France, and Pharamond, the founder of this law and female bar. Yet their own authors faithfully affirm that the land Salic is in Germany, between the floods of Sala and Elbe, where Charles the Great, having subdued the Saxons, there left behind and settled certain French, who, holding in disdain the German women for some dishonest manners of their life, established then this law, to wit, no female should be inheritrix in Salic land, which Salic, as I said, twixt Elba and Sala, is at this day in Germany called Meissen. Then doth it well appear that Salic law was not devised for the realm of France, nor did the French possess the Salic land until 420 years after defunction of King Pharamond, idly supposed the founder of this law, who died within the year of our redemption 426. And Charles the Great subdued the Saxons and did seat the French beyond the river Sala in the year 805. Besides, their writers say King Pepin, which deposed Childeric, did as heir general being descended of Blithild, who was daughter to King Clothair, make claim and title to the crown of France. Hugh Capet also, who usurped the crown of Charles, Duke of Lorraine, sole male heir of the true line and stock of Charles the Great, to find his title with some shows of truth, though in pure truth it was corrupt and naught, conveyed himself as heir to the Lady Lingar, daughter to Charlemagne, who was the son to Louis the Emperor, and Louis the son of Charles the Great. Also, King Louis X, who was sole heir to the usurper Capet, could not keep quiet in his conscience wearing the crown of France, till satisfied that fair Queen Isabel, his grandmother, was lineal of Lady Ermengar, daughter to Charles the Foresaid, Duke of Lorraine, by which marriage the line of Charles the Great was reunited to the crown of France. So that it is as clear as is the summer sun. King Pepin's title and Hugh Capet's claim, King Louis his satisfaction, all appear to hold in right and title of the female. So do the kings of France unto this day, howbeit they would hold up this Salic law to bar your highness claiming from the female, and rather choose to hide them in a net than amply to embar their crooked titles usurped from you and your progenitors.
May I, with right and conscience, make this claim?
The sin upon my head, dread sovereign. For in the book of Numbers it is writ, when the man dies, let the inheritance descend unto the daughter. Gracious Lord, stand for your own. Unwind your bloody flag. Look back into your mighty ancestors. Go, my dread Lord, to your great-grandsire's tomb from whom you claim, invoke his warlike spirit, and your great-uncle's, Edward the Black Prince, who on the French ground played a tragedy, making defeat on the full power of France, whilst his most mighty father on a hill stood smiling to behold his lion's whelp forage in the blood of French nobility. Oh, noble English that could entertain with half their forces the full pride of France, and let another half stand laughing by, all out of work and cold for action.
Awake remembrance of these valiant dead, and with your puissant arm renew their. You are their heir, you sit upon their throne. The blood and courage that renown them runs in your veins, my thrice puissant liege. In the very May morn of his youth, ripe for exploits and mighty enterprises.
The Duke of Exeter unmutes. The Duke of Exeter unmutes.
Your pardon, Your Highness. Your brother kings and monarchs of the earth do all expect that you should rouse yourself, as did the former lions of your blood.
They know your grace hath cause and means and might. So hath your highness never king of England had nobles richer and more loyal subjects, whose hearts have left their bodies here in England and already lie pavilioned in the fields of France.
Oh, let their bodies follow, my dear liege, with blood and sword and fire to win your right, in aid whereof we of the spirituality will raise your highness such a mighty sum, as never did the clergy at one time bring into any of your ancestors.
We must not only arm to invade the French, but lay down our proportions to defend against the Scot, who will make road upon us with all advantages.
They of the marches, gracious sovereign, shall be a wall sufficient to defend our inland from the pilfering borderers.
We do not mean the coursing snatchers only, but fear the main intendment of the Scot, who hath been still a giddy neighbor to us. For you shall read that my great-grandfather never went with his forces into France, but that the Scot on his unfurnished kingdom came pouring like the tide into a branch, with ample and full brimness of his force. Galling the gleaned land with hot assays, girding with grievous siege castles and towns, that England, being empty of defence, hath shook and trembled at the ill neighborhood.
She hath been then more feared than harmed, my liege, for hear her but exampled by herself, when all her chivalry hath been in France, and she a mourning widow of her nobles. She hath herself not only well defended, but taken and impounded as a stray the King of Scots, whom she did send to France to fill King Edward's fame with prisoner kings, and make her chronicle as rich with praise as is the ooze and bottom of the sea, with sunken wreck and sunless treasuries.
But there is a saying very old and true, if you will France win, then with Scotland first begin. For once the eagle England being in prey to her unguarded nest, the weasel Scot comes sneaking in, and so sucks her princely eggs, playing the mouse in absence of the cat to tear and havoc more than she can eat.
It follows then the cat must stay at home. Yet that is but a crushed necessity, since we have locks to safeguard necessaries and petty traps to catch the petty thieves, while that the armed hand doth fight abroad, the advised head defends itself at home. For government though high and lower put into parts, doth keep in one consent, congreeing in a full and natural close like music.
Therefore doth heaven divide the state of man in diverse functions, setting endeavor in continual motion to which is fixed, as an aim or but obedience. For so work the honeybees, creatures that by a rule in nature teach the act of order to a peopled kingdom. They have a king and officers of sorts, where some, like magistrates, correct at home, others, like merchants, venture trade abroad, others, like soldiers armed in their stings, make bruit upon the summer's velvet buds, which pillage they with merry march bring home to the tent royal of their emperor. Who busied in his majesty surveys the singing masons, building roofs of gold, the civil citizens kneading up the honey, the poor mechanic porters crowding in their heavy burdens at his narrow gate, the sad-eyed justice with his surly hum, delivering o'er to executors pale the lazy dawning drone. I this infer that many things, having full reference to one consent, may work contrariously, as many arrows loosed several ways come to one mark, as many fresh streams meet in one salt sea, as many lines close in the dial's center. So may 1,000 actions, once afoot, end in one purpose, and all be well borne without defeat. Therefore to France, my liege, divide your happy England into 4, whereof take you 1/4 into France, and you shall withal make all Gallia shake. If we, with thrice such powers left at home, cannot defend our own doors from the dog, let us be worried, and our nation lose the name of hardiness and policy.
Call in the messengers sent from the Dauphin. Now are we well resolved, and by God's help, and yours, the noble sinews of our power, France being ours, will bend it to our awe or break it all to pieces. Or there will sit ruling in large and ample empery, or France and all her almost kingly dukedoms, or lay these bones in an unworthy urn, tombless, with no remembrance over them. Either our history shall with full mouth speak freely of our acts, or else our grave, like Turkish mute, shall have a tongueless mouth, not worshipped with a waxen epitaph.
Enter Lord Rambiers, the ambassador from France.
Now are we well prepared to know the pleasure of our fair cousin, Dauphin, for we hear your greeting is from him and not from the king?
May it please your majesty to give us leave freely to render what we have in charge, or shall we sparingly show you far off the Dauphin's meeting and our embassy?
We are no tyrant, but a Christian king, unto whose grace our passion is as subject as are our wretches fettered in our prisons. Therefore, with frank and with uncurbed plainness, tell us the Dauphin's mind.
Thus then you, your highness, lately sitting into France, did claim some certain dukedoms in the right of your great predecessor, King Edward III. In answer of which claim, our master says that you savor too much of your youth, and bids you be advised there's naught in France that can be with a nimble galliard one, cannot revel in dukedoms there. He therefore sends you meter for your spirit, this ton of treasure, and in lieu of this desires you let the dukedoms that you claim hear no more of you. This the Dauphin speaks.
What treasure, uncle?
Tennis balls, my liege.
Ah, well, we are glad the Dauphin is so pleasant with us. His present and your pains we thank you for. When we have marched our rackets to these balls, we will, in France, by God's grace, play a set. Shall strike his father's crown into the hazard. Tell him he hath made a match with such a wrangler that all the courts of France will be disturbed with chases. Oh, and we understand him well, how he comes o'er us with our wilder days, not measuring what use we made of them. We never valued this poor seed of England, and therefore living hence did give ourself to barbarous license, as 'tis ever common that men are merriest when they are from home. But tell the Dauphin I will keep my state, be like a king, and show my sail of greatness when I do rouse me in my throne of France. For that I have laid by my majesty and plotted like a man for working days, but I will rise there with so full of glory that I will dazzle all the eyes of France. Yea, strike the Dauphin blind to look on us, and tell the pleasant prince this mock of his hath turned his balls to gunstones, and his soul shall stand sore charged for the wasteful vengeance that shall fly with them. For many 1,000 widows shall this his mock out of their dear husbands, mock mothers from their sons, mock castles down, and some are yet ungotten and unborn that shall have cause to curse the Dauphin's scorn. But all this lies well within the will of God, to whom I do appeal, and in whose name tell you, the Dauphin, I am coming on to avenge me as I may, and to put forth my rightful hand in a well-hallowed cause. So get you hence in peace, and tell the Dauphin his jest will savor but of shallow wit, when thousands weep more than did laugh at it. Convey them with safe conduct. Fare you well.
Exit the ambassador from France.
This was a merry message.
We hope to make the sender blush at it. Thank you. Therefore, my lords, omit no happy hour that may give furtherance to our expedition, for we have now no thought in us but France, save those to God that run before our business. Therefore, let our proportions for these wars be soon collected, and all things thought upon, that may, with reasonable swiftness, add more feathers to our wings, for God before will chide the Dauphin at his father's door. Therefore, let every man now task his thought, that this fair action may on foot be brought.
Exeunt. Now all the youth of England are on fire, and silken dalliance in the wardrobe lies. Now thrive the armorers, and honor's thought reigns solely in the breast of every man. They sell the pasture now to buy the horse, following the mirror of all Christian kings with winged heels, as English Mercuries. For now expectation sits in the air, and hides a sword from hilts unto the point with crowns imperial, crowns and coronets promised to Harry and his followers. The French, advised by good intelligence of this most dreadful preparation, shake in their fear, and with pale policy seek to divert the English purposes. O England, model to thy inward greatness, like little body with a mighty heart, what mightst thou do, that honor would thee do, were all thy children kind and natural? But see thy fault. France hath in thee found out a nest of hollow bosoms, which he fills with treacherous crowns, and 2 corrupted men, one Richard Earl of Cambridge, and the second Sir Thomas Grey, Knight of Northumberland, have for the guilt of France, oh, guilt indeed, confirmed conspiracy with fearful France, and by their hands this grace of kings must die, if hell and treason hold their promises, ere he take ship for France. And in Southampton linger your patience on, and will digest the abuse of distance. Force a play. The sum is paid. The traitors are agreed. The king is set from London, and the scene is now transported, gentles, to Southampton. There is the playhouse now. There must you sit, and thence to France shall we convey you safe, and bring you back, charming the narrow seas to give you gentle pass. For, if we may, will not one stomach offend with our play. But, till the king come forth, and not till then, unto Southampton do we shift our scene. Act 2, Scene 1. London, a street. Enter Corporal Nym and Lieutenant Bardolph.
Well met, Corporal Nym.
Good morrow, Lieutenant Bardolph.
What, are you and Ancient Pistol friends yet?
For my part, I care not. I say little. But when time shall serve, there shall be smiles. But that shall be as it may. I dare not fight. But I will wink and hold out mine iron. It's a simple one. But what though? It will toast cheese, and it will endure cold as another man's sword will. and there's an end.
I will bestow a breakfast to make you friends, and we'll all be 3 sworn brothers to France. Let it be so, good Corporal Nym.
Faith, I will live so long as I may. That's the certain of it. And when I cannot live any longer, I will do as I may. That is my rest. That's the rendezvous of it.
It is certain, Corporal, that he is married to Nell Quickly, and certainly she did you wrong, for you were troth plight to her.
I cannot tell. Things must be as they may. Men may sleep, and they have their throats about them at that time, and some say knives have edges. It must be as it may. The patience be a tired mare, yet she will plod. There must be conclusions. Well, I cannot tell.
Enter Pistol and Mistress Quickly.
Here comes Ancient Pistol and his wife. Good Corporal, be patient here. How now, mine host Pistol?
Base tyke! Call'st thou me host? Now by this hand, I swear I scorn the term, nor shall my Nell keep lodgers.
No, by my troth, not long, for we cannot lodge and board 12 or 14 gentlewomen that live honestly by the prick of their needles. But it will be thought that we keep a bawdy house straight. Oh, well a day, lady, if ye not be drawn now, we shall see witful adultery and murder committed.
Good Lieutenant, good Corporal, offer nothing here.
Pish!
Pish for thee, Iceland dog, thou prick-eared cur of Iceland.
Good Corporal Nym, show thy valor and put up your sword.
Will you shog off? I would have you soulless.
Soulless, egregious dog, O viper vile, the soulless in thy most marvelous face, the soulless in thy teeth, and in thy throat, and in thy hateful lungs, yea, in thy maw, perdie, and which is worse, within thy nasty mouth. I do retort the soulless in thy bowels, for I could take, and Pistol's cock is up, and flashing fire will follow.
I am not Barbizon, you cannot conjure me. I have a humor to knock you indifferently well. If you grow foul with me, Pistol, I will scour you with my rapier. As I may in fair terms. If you walk off, I will prick your guts a little in good terms, as I may. And that's the humor of it.
Oh, braggart, vile, and damn furious wight, the grave doth gape, and doting death is near. Therefore, exhale.
Hear me what I say. He that strikes the first stroke, I'll run him up to the hilt as I am a soldier.
An oath of mickle might and fury shall abate. Give me thy fist, thy forefoot to me give. Thy spirits are most tall.
I will cut thy throat one time or other. In fair terms, that's the humor of it.
Cuffle a gorge, that is the word I thee defy again. O hound of Crete, thinkst thou my spouse to get? No, to the spittle go, and from the powdering tub of infamy fetch forth the laser kite of Cressid's kind, dull tear sheet, she by name and her espouse. I have, and I will hold the quondam quickly for the only she, and Palka, there's enough, go to.
Enter the boy.
Mine host Pistol, you must come to my master, Sir John Falstaff, and you, hostess. He is very sick and would to bed. Good Bardolph, put thy face between his sheets and do the office of a warming pan. Faith, he is very ill.
Away, you rogue.
By my troth, he'll yield the crow of pudding one of these days. The king has killed his heart. Good husband, come home presently.
Exeunt Mistress Quickly and the boy.
Come, shall I make you two friends? We must to France together. Why the devil should we keep knives to cut one another's throats?
Let floods or swell, and fiends for food howl on.
You'll pay me the 8 shillings I won of you at betting?
Base is the slave that pays.
That now I will have. That's the honor of it.
Oh, as manhood shall compound. Push home.
By this sword, he that makes the first thrust, I'll kill him. By this sword I will.
Sword is an oath, and oaths must have their course.
Corporal Nim and thou wilt be friends. Be friends, and thou wilt not. Why, then be enemies with me too. Prithee, put up.
I shall have my 8 shillings I won of you at betting.
A noble shalt thou have, and present pay, and liquor likewise will I give to thee, and friendship shall combine, and a brotherhood. I'll live by Nim, and Nim shall live by me. Is not this just? For I shall sutler be unto the camp, and profits will accrue. Give me thy hand.
I shall have my noble.
In cash most justly paid.
Well, then, that's the humor of it.
Re-enter Mistress Quickly.
As ever you have come of women, coming quickly to Sir John. Ah, poor heart, he is so shaked of a burning quotidian tertian that it is most lamentable to behold. Sweet men, come to him.
The king hath run bad humors on the night. That's the even of it.
Nim, thou hast spoke the right. His heart is fracted and corroborate.
The king is a good king, but it must be as he may. He passes some humors and some careers.
Let us condole the night. For lambkins, we will live.
Exeunt. Act 2, Scene 2, Southampton, a council chamber. Enter the Duke of Bedford, the Duke of Exeter, and the Earl of Westmoreland.
Or God, his grace is bold to trust these traitors.
They shall be apprehended by and by.
How smooth and even they do bear themselves, as if allegiance in their bosoms sat, crowned with faith and constant loyalty.
No, the king hath note of all that they intend, by interception which they dream not of.
Nay, but the man that was his bedfellow, whom he hath dulled and cloyed with gracious favors, that he should for a foreign purse so sell his sovereign's life to death and treachery.
Enter King Henry V, the Earl of Cambridge, Sir Thomas Grey, and attendants.
Now sits the wind fair, and we will aboard. My Lord of Cambridge and kind Northumberland, good my knights, give me your thoughts. Think you not that the powers we bear with us will cut their passage through the force of France, doing the execution and the act for which we have in head assembled them?
No doubt, my liege, if each man do his best.
I doubt not that, since we are well persuaded we carry not a heart from us, from hence that grows not in fair consent with ours, nor leave not one behind that doth not wish success and conquest to attend on us.
Never was monarch better feared and loved than is your majesty. There's not, I think, a subject that sits in heart grief and uneasiness under the sweet shade of your government.
True, those that were your father's enemies have steeped their galls in honey and do serve you with hearts create of duty and of zeal.
We therefore have great cause of thankfulness, and shall forget the office of our hands sooner than quittance of desert and merit, according to the weight and worthiness.
So service shall with steel its sinews toil, and labor shall refresh itself with hope to do your grace incessant services.
We judge no less. Uncle of Exeter, enlarge the man committed yesterday that railed against our person. We consider it was an excess of wine that set him on, and on his more advice, we pardon him.
That's mercy, but too much security. Let him be punished, sovereign, lest example breed by his sufferance more of such a kind.
Oh, let us yet be merciful.
So may your highness, and yet punish too.
Sir, you show great mercy if you give him life after the taste of much correction.
Alas, your too much love and care of me are heavy orisons against this poor wretch. If little faults proceeding on distemper shall not be winked at, How shall we stretch our eye when capital crimes, chewed, swallowed, and digested, appear before us? We will yet enlarge that man, though Cambridge and Grey, in their dear care and tender preservation of our person, would have him punished. And now to our French causes. Who are the late commissioners?
Oh, one, my lord. Your Highness bade me ask for it today.
And I, my royal sovereign.
Then Richard, Earl of Cambridge, there is yours. Grey of Northumberland, this same is yours. Read them and know, I know your worthiness. My Lord of Westmoreland and Uncle Exeter, we will aboard tonight. Why, how now, gentlemen? What see you in those papers that you lose so much complexion? Look ye, how they change. Their cheeks are paper. Why, what read you there that hath so cowarded and chased your blood out of appearance?
I do confess my fault and submit me to your Highness's mercy.
To which I equally appeal.
The mercy that was quick in us but late, by your own counsel is suppressed and killed. You must not dare for shame to talk of mercy. For your own reasons turn into your bosoms as dogs upon their masters, worrying you. See you, my princes and my noble peers, these English monsters? My Lord of Cambridge here, you know how apt our love was to accord to furnish him with all appertainments belonging to his honor. And this man hath for a few light crowns lightly conspired and sworn unto the practices of France to kill us here in Hampton, to the which this night, no less for bounty bound to us than Cambridge is, hath likewise sworn. But oh, what shall I say to thee, thou cruel, ingrateful, savage, and inhuman creature? Thou that didst bear the key of all my counsels, that knewest the very bottom of my soul, that might almost have coined me into gold. Wouldst thou have practiced on me for thy use? May it be possible that foreign hire could out of thee extract one spark of evil that might annoy my finger? 'Tis so strange that though the truth of it stands off as gross as black and white, my eye will scarcely see it. Treason and murder ever kept together as two yoke devils sworn to either's purpose, working so grossly to a natural cause that admiration did not whoop at them. But thou, against all proportion, did bring in wonder to wait on treason and murder. And whatsoever cunning fiend it was that wrought upon thee so preposterously hath got the voice in hell for excellence. All other devils that suggest by treasons do botch and bungle up damnation, with patches and colors and with forms being fetched from glistening semblances of piety. But he that tempered bade thee stand up, gave thee no instance why thou shouldst do treason, unless to dub thee with the name of traitor. That same demon that hath gulled thee thus should with his lion gait walk the whole world, he might return to vasty Tartarback and tell the legions, well, I can never win a soul so easy as that Englishman's. Oh, how hast thou with jealousy infected the sweetness of a fiance? Show men dutiful? Why, so didst thou. Seem they grave and learned? Why, so didst thou. Come thee of noble family? Why, so didst thou. Seem they religious? Why, so didst thou. Or are they spare in diet, free from gross passion or of mirth or anger, constant in spirit, not swerving with the blood, garnished and decked in modest compliment, not working with the eye, without the ear, and but in perjured judgment, trusting neither? Such and so finely bolted didst thou seem. And thus thy fall hath left a kind of blot to mark the full-fraught man and best imbued with some suspicion. I will weep for thee, for this revolt of thine, methinks is like another fall of man. Their faults are open. Arrest them to the answer of the law. God acquit them of their practices.
I arrest thee of high treason by the name of Richard, Earl of Cambridge. I arrest thee of high treason by the name of Thomas Grey, Knight of Northumberland.
For me, the gold of France did not seduce, although I did admit it as a motive, the sooner to effect what I intended. But God be thanked for prevention, which I in sufferance heartily will rejoice. beseeching God and you to pardon me.
Never did faithful subject more rejoice at the discovery of a most dangerous treason than I do at this hour joy o'er myself, prevented from a damned enterprise. My fault, but not my body. Pardon, sovereign.
God quit you in his mercy. Hear your sentence. You have conspired against our royal person, joined with an enemy proclaimed, and from his coffers received the golden earnest of our death, wherein you would have sold your king to slaughter, his princes and his peers to servitude, his subjects to oppression and contempt, and his whole kingdom into desolation. Touching on our person, seek we no revenge. But we, our kingdom's safety, must so tender, whose ruin you have sought, that to her laws we do deliver you. Get you therefore hence, poor miserable wretches, to your death, the taste whereof God of his mercy give you patience to endure, and true repentance of all your dear offences. Bear them hence.
Exeunt Cambridge and Grey, guarded.
Now, lords, for France, the enterprise whereof shall be to you as us like glorious. We doubt not of a fair and lucky war, since God so graciously hath brought to light these dangerous treason lurking in our way to hinder our beginnings. We doubt not now, but every rub is smoothed on our way. Then, forth, dear countrymen, let us deliver our puissance into the hand of God, putting it straight in expedition. Cheerily to see the signs of war advance, no king of England, if not king of France.
Exeunt. Act 2, Scene 3, London, before a tavern. Enter Pistol, Mistress Quickly, Nym, Bardolph, and the boy.
Prithee, honey, sweet husband, let me bring thee to Staines.
No, for my manly heart doth yearn. Bardolph, be blithe. Nym, rouse thy vaunting veins. Boy, bristle thy courage up. For Falstaff is dead, and we must yearn therefore.
Would I were with him wheresoe'er he is, either in heaven or in hell.
Nay, sure, he's not in hell. He's in Arthur's bosom. If ever a man went to Arthur's bosom, he made a finer end and went away had it been any Christian child. He parted just between 12 and 1, even at the turning of the tide. For after I saw him fumble with the sheets and play with the flowers and smile upon his fingers' ends, I knew there was but one way. For his nose was sharp as a pen, and he babbled of green fields. "How now, Sir John," quoth I, "what man? Be of good cheer." So he cried out, "God, God, God," 3 or 4 times. Now I, to comfort him, bid him he should not think of God. I hoped there was no need to trouble himself with any such thoughts yet. So he bade me lay more clothes on his feet. I put my hand onto the bed and felt them, and they were as cold as any stone. And then I felt to his knees, and they were as cold as any stone. And so upward and upward and upward, and all was as cold as any stone.
They say he cried out of sack.
That he did.
And of women.
Nay, that he did not.
Yes, that he did, and said they were devils incarnate.
Oh, he could never abide carnations. 'Twas a color he never liked.
He said once the devil would have him about women.
He did in some sort, indeed, handle women, but then he was rheumatic, and he talked of the whore of Babylon.
Shall we, Shog? The king will be gone from Southampton.
Let's away. My love, give me thy lips. Look to my chattels, my movables. Let senses rule. The word is pitch and play. Trust none, for oaths are straws. Men's faiths are wafer cakes, and hold fast is the only dog, my duck. Therefore, Cavito be thy counselor. Go, clear thy crystals. Yoke fellows in arms, let us to France. like horse leeches, my boys, to suck, the very blood to suck.
And that's but unwholesome food, they say.
Then farewell. Let us march.
Farewell, hostess.
Adieu.
Let His Swiftry command appear. Keep close. By thee command.
Farewell.
Farewell. Adieu.
Exeunt. Act 2, Scene 4. France, the King's Palace. Enter the King of France, the Dauphin, and the Constable of France.
Thus comes the English with full power upon us, and more than carefully it concerns us to answer royally in our defenses. Therefore, Dukes of Berry and Bretagne, of Brabant and Orleans, shall make forth, and you, Prince Dauphin, with all swift dispatch to line up and new repair our towns of war, with men of courage and with means defended. For England his approaches makes as fierce as the waters sucking off a gulf. It fits us then to be as provident as fear may teach us out of late examples left by the fatal and neglected English upon our fields.
My most redoubted father, it is most meet we arm us against the foe. For peace itself shall not so dull a kingdom, though war nor no known quarrel were in question, but that defenses, musters, preparations should be maintained, assembled, and collected, as were a war in expectation. Therefore I say 'tis meet we all go forth to view the sick and feeble parts of France, and let us do it with no show of fear, no, with no more than if we heard that England were busied with a Whitsun Morris dance. For my good liege, she is so idly kinged, her scepter so fantastically borne by a vain, giddy, shallow, humorous youth, that fear attends her not.
Oh, peace, Prince Dauphin. You are too much mistaken in this king. Question your grace the late ambassadors, with what great state he heard their embassy, how well supplied with noble counselors, how modest in exception, and withal, how terrible in constant resolution. And you shall find his vanities forespent were but the outside of the Roman Brutus, covering discretion with a coat of folly, as gardeners do with ordure hide those roots that shall first spring and be most delicate.
Well, 'tis not so, my lord high constable. But though we think it so, it is no matter. In cases of defense, 'tis best to weigh the enemy more mighty than he seems. So the proportions of defense are filled, which of a weak or cowardly projection doth like a miser spoil his coat with scanting a little cloth.
Think we King Harry strong, and princes, look you strongly armed to meet him. The kindred of him hath been fleshed upon us, and he is bred out of that bloody strain that haunted us in our familiar paths. Witness our too much memorable shame when Crecy battle fatally was struck, and all our princes captived by the hand of that black name, Edward, Black Prince of Wales. While that his mountain sire, on mountain standing, up in the air crowned with the golden sun, saw his heroical seed, and smiled to see him mangle the work of nature and deface the patterns that by God and by French fathers had 20 years been made. This is a stem of that victorious stock, and let us fear the naty mightiness and fate of him.
Enter Montjoie, the herald.
Ambassadors from Harry, King of England, do crave admittance to your majesty.
We'll give them present audience. Go, bring them. You see this chase is hotly followed, friends.
Exit Montjoie.
Turn head and stop pursuit. For coward dogs most spend their mouths when what they seem to threaten runs far before them. Good my sovereign, take up the English short. Let them know of what a monarchy you're the head. Self-love, my liege, is not so vile a sin as self-neglecting.
Enter the Duke of Exeter.
From our brother England?
From him, and thus he greets your majesty. He wills you, in the name of God Almighty, that you divest yourself and lay apart the borrowed glories that by gift of heaven, by law of nature and of nations, belong to him and to him alone, namely the crown, and all wide-stretched honors that pertain by custom and the ordinance of times unto the crown of France. That you may know 'tis no sinister nor no awkward claim, he sends you this most memorable line, picked from that you may know. 'Tis no sinister nor no awkward claim picked from the wormholes of long vanished days, nor from the dust of old oblivion raked. He sends you this most memorable line in every branch truly demonstrative, willing to overlook this pedigree. And when you find him evenly derived from his most famed of famous ancestors, Edward III, he bids you then resign your crown and kingdom, indirectly held from him, the native and true challenger.
Or else what follows?
Bloody constraint. For if you hide the crown, even in your hearts, there will he rake for it. Therefore, in fierce tempest is he coming, in thunder and in earthquake like a Jove, that if requiring fail, he will compel, and bids you, in the bowels of the Lord, deliver up the crown, and to take mercy on the poor souls for whom this hungry war opens his vasty jaws. And on your head, turning the widow's tears, the orphan's cries, the dead men's blood, the pining maiden's groans for husbands, fathers, and betrothed lovers that shall be swallowed in this controversy. This is his claim, his threatening, and my message. Unless the Dauphin be in presence here, to whom expressly I bring greeting too.
For us, we will consider of this further. Tomorrow you shall bear our full intent back to our brother England.
For the Dauphin, I stand here for him. What to him from England?
Scorn and defiance, slight regard, contempt, and anything that may not misbecome the mighty sender doth he prize you at. Thus says my king, and if your father's highness do not, in grant of all demands at large, sweeten the bitter mock you sent his majesty, he'll call you to so hot an answer of it that caves and woomy voltages of France shall chide your trespasses and return your mock in second accent of his ordinance.
Say, if my father render fair return, it is against my will, for I desire nothing but odds with England. To that end, as matching to his youth and vanity, I did present him with the Paris balls.
He'll make your Paris Louvre shake for it, were it the mistress course of mighty Europe. And be assured, you will find a difference, as we, his subjects, have in wonder found between the promise of his greener days and those he masters now. Now he weighs time even to the utmost grain. That you shall read in your own losses if he stay in France.
Tomorrow shall you know our mind at full.
Dispatch us with all speed, lest that our king come here himself to question our delay, for he is footed in this land already.
You shall soon dispatched with fair conditions. A night is but a small breath and little pause to answer matters of this consequence.
Exeunt. Thus, with imagined wing, our swift scene flies in a motion of no less celerity than of thought. Suppose that you have seen the well-appointed king at Hampton Pier embark his royalty, and his brave fleet with silken streamers the young Phoebus fanning. Play with your fancies, and in them behold upon the hempen tackle ship-boys climbing. Hear the shrill whistle, which doth order give to sounds confused. Behold the threadened sails, borne with invisible and creeping wind, draw the huge bottoms through the furrowed sea, breasting the lofty surge. Oh, do but think. You stand upon the ravage and behold a city upon the inconstant billows dancing. For so appears this fleet majestical holding due course to Harfleur. Follow, follow, grapple your minds to sternage of this navy, and leave your England, as dead midnight still, guarded with grandsires, babies, and old women, either past or not yet arrived to pith and puissance. For who is he whose chin is but enriched with one appearing hair, that will not follow these cold and choice-drawn cavaliers to France? Work, work your thoughts, and therein see a siege. Behold the ordinances on their carriages, with fatal mouths gaping on girded Harfleur. Suppose the ambassador from the French comes back, tells Harry that the king doth offer him Catherine his daughter, and with her to dowry some petty and unprofitable dukedoms. The offer likes not, and the nimble gunner with linstock now the devilish cannon touches, and down goes all before them. Still be kind, and eke out our performance with your mind. Act 3, Scene 1, France, the fields before Harfleur.
Once more into the breach, dear friends, once more, or close the walls up with our English dead. In peace, there's nothing so becomes a man as modest stillness and humility. But when the blast of war blows in our ears, then imitate the actions of the tiger. Stiffen up the sinews, summon up the blood. Disguise fair nature with hard favored rage. Then lend the eye a terrible aspect. Let pry through the portage of the head like the brass cannon. Let the brow overwhelm it as fearfully as doth a galled rock, or hang and jutty his confounded base, swilled with a wild and wasteful ocean. Now set the teeth and stretch the nostril wide. Hold hard the breath and bend up every spirit to his full height. On, you noblest English, whose blood is fed from the fathers of warproof. Fathers, like so many Alexanders, have in these parts from morn till even fought and sheathed their swords for lack of argument. Dishonor not your mothers. Now attest that those whom you called fathers did beget you. Be copy now to men of grosser blood, and teach them how to war. And you, good yeomen, whose limbs were made in England, show us here the mettle of your pasture. Let us swear that you are worth your breeding, which I doubt not. For there is none of you so mean and base that hath not noble luster in your eyes. I see you stand like greyhounds in the slips, straining upon the start. The game is afoot. Follow your spirit, and upon this charge cry God for Harry, England, and St. George!
Act 3, Scene 2, the field before Harfleur. Enter Nym, Bardolph, Pistol, and the boy.
On! On! To the breach! To the breach!
Stay thee, corporal, stay! The knocks are too hot. And for mine own part, I have not a case of lives. The humor of it is too hot. That's the very plain song of it.
The plain song is most just, for humors do abound. Knocks go and come, God's vassals drop and die, and sword and shield and bloody field doth win immortal fame.
Would I were in an alehouse in London, I would give all of my fame for a pot of ale and safety.
And I, if wishes would prevail with me, My purpose would not fail with me, but thither would I hie.
As duly, not as truly, as bird doth sing on bough.
Up to the breach, you dogs. Avaunt, you cullions.
Exit. Llewellyn.
Be merciful, great Duke, to man of mold. Abate thy rage, abate thy manly rage. Abate thy rage, great Duke. Good bogcock, bate thy rage. Use lenity, sweet chuck.
These be good humors. Your honor wins bad humors.
Exeunt all. Re-enter Llewellyn, Gower following.
Captain Llewellyn, you must come presently to the mines. The Duke of Gloucester would speak with you.
To the mines. Tell ye the Duke, it is not so good to come to the mines, for look you, the mines is not according to the disciplines of the war. The concavities of it is not sufficient, for look you, the adversary you may discuss unto the Duke, look you, is digged himself 4 yards under the countermines. But Cheshire, I think it will plow up all if there is not better direction.
The Duke of Gloucester, to whom the order of the siege is given, is altogether directed by an Irishman, a very valiant gentleman in faith.
It is Captain McMorris, is it not?
I think it be.
By Cheshire, he is an ass. As in the world, I will verify as much in his beard. He has no more direction in the true disciplines of the wars. Look ye, of the Roman disciplines, than is a puppy dog.
Enter Captain McMorris.
How now, Captain McMorris? Have you quit the mines? Have the pioneers given o'er?
By Christ, it is ill done. The work is give over, the trumpet sound the retreat, and by my hand, and I swear my father's soul, the work is ill done. It is give over. I'd have blowed up the town, so Christ save me, in an hour. It is ill done. It is ill done. By my hand, it is ill done.
Captain McMorris, I beseech you now, will you vouchsafe me, look you, a few disputations with you, as partly touching or concerning the disciplines of the war, the Roman wars, in the way of argument, look you, and friendly communication, partly to satisfy my own opinion, and partly for the satisfaction, look you, of my mind as touching the military discipline that is the point.
It is no time to discourse, so Christ save me. The day is hot, and the weather, and the wars, and the kings, and the dukes. It is no time to discourse. The town is besieged, and the trumpet calls us to the breach, and we talk, and by Christ, do nothing. It is a shame for us all. So God save me, it is a shame to stand still. It is a shame by my hand, and there's throats to be cut, and work to be done, and there's nothing done. So Christ save me.
Captain McMorris, I think, look you, under your correction, there is not many of your nation.
My nation? What is my nation? It's a villain and a bastard and a knave and a rascal. What is my nation? Who talks of my nation?
Look you, if you take the matter otherwise than is meant, Captain McMorris, peradventure, I shall think you do not use me with that affability as in direction you ought to use me, look you, being as good a man as yourself, both in the disciplines in the war, and in the derivation of my birth, and in other particularities.
I do not know you so good as a man as myself. So Christ save me, I'll cut off your head.
Gentlemen, both, you will mistake each other. The town sounds a parley.
Captain McMorris, when there is more better opportunity to be required, look you, I will be so bold as to tell you I know the disciplines of war, and there is an end.
Exeunt. Act 3, Scene 3, before the gates of Harfleur. Enter King Henry and the governor of Harfleur.
How yet resolves the governor of the town? This is the latest parley we will admit. Therefore, to our best mercy give yourselves, or like to men proud of destruction, defy us to our worst. For as I am a soldier, a name that in my thoughts becomes me best, if I begin the battery once again, I will not leave the half-achieved Harfleur till in her ashes she lies buried. The gates of mercy shall be all shut up, and in the fleshed soldier, rough and hard of heart, in liberty of bloody hand, shall range with conscience wide as hell, mowing like grass your fresh fair virgins and your flowering infants. What is it then to me if impious war, arrayed in flames like to the prince of fiends, do with his smirched complexion all fell fleets in linked to waste and desolation? We may as bootless spend our vain command upon the enraged soldiers and their spoil, as send precepts to the Leviathan to come ashore. Therefore, you men of Harfleur, take pity on your town and of your people, whilst yet my soldiers are in my command, whilst yet the cool and temperate winds of grace o'erblows the filthy and contagious clouds of heady murder, spoil, and villainy. If not, why in a moment look to see the blind and bloody soldier with foul hand defy the locks of your shrill shrieking daughters, your fathers taken by the silver beards, and their most reverend heads dashed to the walls, your naked infants spitted upon pikes, whilst the mad mothers with their howls confused do break the clouds, as did the wives of Jewry at Herod's bloody hunting slaughtermen. What say you? Will you yield in this avoid, or guilty in defense be thus destroyed?
Our expectation hath this day an end. The Dauphin, whom of succors we entreated, returns us that his powers are yet not ready to raise so great a siege. Therefore, great king, we yield our town and lives to thy soft mercy. Enter our gates, dispose of us and ours, for we no longer are defensible.
Open your gates. Come, Uncle Exeter, go you and enter Harfleur. There remain and fortify it strongly against the French. Use mercy to them all. For us, dear uncle, the winter coming on and sickness growing upon our soldiers. We will retire to Calais tonight in Harfleur. We will be your guest. Tomorrow for the march, we are addressed.
Exeunt. Act 3, Scene 4, the French King's Palace. Enter Princess Catherine and Alice, her maid.
Alice, tu as été en Angleterre et tu parles bien le langage.
Un peu, madame.
Je te prie. Monseigneur, il faut que j'apprenne à parler. Comment appelez-vous la main en anglais?
Le main? Elle appelle the hand.
The hand. Et les droites?
Les droites? Ma foi, j'ai oublié tes droites. Ah, mais je me souviendrai. Les droites, je pense qu'ils sont appelés the fingers. Oui, the fingers.
La main, the hand. Les doigts, des fingers. Je pense que je suis le bon écolier. J'ai gagné 2 mots de langue vitement. Comment appelez-vous les ongles?
Les ongles, nous appelons the nails.
The nails. Écoutez, dites-moi si je parle bien. The hand, the fingers et the nails.
Ah, c'est bien dit, madame. Il est fort bon anglais.
Dites-moi l'anglais pour le bras.
Le bras, the arm, madame.
Et le coude?
The elbow.
The elbow. Je m'en fais la répétition de tous les mots que vous m'avez appris à de présent.
Il est trop difficile, madame, comme je pense.
Excusez-moi, Alice. Écoutez. The hand, the finger, the nails, the arm, the bilbo.
Des elbows, madame.
Oh, Seigneur Dieu, je m'en oubliais. Des elbows. Comment appelez-vous le col?
Du neck, madame.
Des nips. Et le menton?
De chien.
Des signes. Le col, des nips, le menton, de signes.
Oui, sauf votre honneur. En vérité, vous prononcez les mots aussi toi que les natifs d'Angleterre.
Je ne doute point de prendre, par la grâce de Dieu, et un peu de temps.
N'avez-vous pas déjà oublié que je vous ai absent?
Non, je réciterai à vous promptement. Des hands, des fingres, des nails.
Des nails, madame.
Des nails, des arms, des elbows.
Sauf votre honneur, des elbows.
On s'est dit des elbows, des nicks et des signes. Comment appelez-vous le pied et la robe?
De foot, madame, et de con.
De foot et de camp. Oh, Seigneur Dieu. Ce sont mauvais, corruptibles, grosses et impudiques. Et non pour les dames d'honneur d'oseille. Je ne voudrais prononcer ces mots devant les seigneurs de France pour tout le monde. Le foot et le camp. Néanmoins, je réciterai une autre fois ma leçon ensemble. Des hands, des fingres, des nails, des arms, des elbows, des nicks, des signes, des foot et des crans.
Excellent, madame.
C'est assez pour une fois. Allons-nous à dîner.
Exeunt. Act 3, Scene 5, the French King's Palace. Enter the King of France, the Dauphin, the Duke of Bourbon, and the Constable of France.
'Tis certain he hath passed the river Somme.
And if he be not fought withal, my lord, let us not live in France. Let us quit all and give our vineyards to a barbarous people.
Oh, Dieu vivant, shall a few sprays of us, the emptying of our fathers' luxury, our scions put in wild and savage stock, spurt up so suddenly into the clouds and overlook their grafters?
Normans, but bastard Normans, Norman bastards, Mondevie, if they march along unfought withal, but I will sell my dukedom to buy a slubbery and a dirty farm in that nook-schlatten Albion.
Dieu de Bataille, where have they this metal? Is not their climate foggy, raw, and dull, on whom, as in despite, the sun looks pale, killing their fruit with frowns? Can sodden water, a drench for serened jades, their barley broth, decoct their cold blood to such valiant heat? And shall blood, spirited with wine, seem frosty? Oh, for honor of our land, let us not hang like open icicles upon our houses' thatch, while some more people drops sweats of gallant youth in our rich fields. Poor may we call them in their native lords.
By faith and honor, our madams mock at us, and plainly say our metal is bred out, and they will give their bodies to the lust of English youth, to new store France, with bastard warriors.
They bid us to the English dancing schools, and teach La Volta's high and swift contrados, and saying our grace is only in our heels, and that we are most lofty runaways.
Where is Montjoie the herald? Speed him hence. Let him greet England with our sharp defiance. Up, princes, and with spirit and honor edged more sharper than your swords, high to the field. Charles d'Alabreth, High Constable of France, you, Dukes of Orleans, Bourbon, and Berry, Alençon, Brabant, Bar, and Burgundy, Jacques Chatillon, Rambert, Vaudemont, Beaumont, Grandpierre, Rossi, and Falkenberg, Foix, Lestrade, Bossy, Croix, and Charleroi, high dukes, great princes, barons, lords, and knights, for your great seats now quit you of great shames. Bar, Harry, England, that sweeps through our lands with pennons painted in the blood of Harfleur. rush on his host as does the melted snow upon the valleys whose low vassal seat the Alps doth spit and void his room upon. Go down upon him, you have power enough, and in captive chariot into Rouen bring him our prisoner.
This becomes the great. Sorry why his numbers are so few, his soldiers sick and famished in their march, for I am sure when he shall see our army, he'll drop his heart into the sink of fear, and for achievement offer us his ransom.
Therefore, Lord Constable, haste on Montjoie, and let him say to England that we send to know what willing ransom he will give. Prince Dauphin, you shall stay with us in Rouen.
Not so, I do beseech your majesty.
Be patient, for you shall remain with us. Now, forth, Lord Constable and princes all, and quickly bring us word of England's fall.
Exeunt. Act 3, Scene 6. The English camp in Picardy. Enter Gower and Fluellen, meeting.
How now, Captain Fluellen, come you from the bridge?
I assure you, there is very excellent service committed at the bridge.
Is the Duke of Exeter safe?
The Duke of Exeter is as magnanimous as Agamemnon, and a man that I love and honor with my soul and my heart, and my duty, and my life, and my living in my uttermost power. He is not, God be praised and blessed, any hurt in the world. Keeps the bridge most valiantly, with excellent discipline. There's an ancient lieutenant there at the bridge. I think in my very conscience he is as valiant a man as Mark Antony, and he is a man of no estimation in the world, but did see him do gallant service.
What do you call him?
He's called Ancient Pistol.
I know him not.
Enter Pistol.
Here is the man.
Captain, I thee beseech thee to do me favors. The Duke of Exeter doth love thee well.
I praise God, and I have merited some love at his hands.
Bardolph, a soldier, firm and sound of heart, and buxom valor, hath by cruel fate and giddy fortune's furious fickle wheel that God is blind and stands upon the rolling restless stone.
By your patience, Ancient Pistol. Fortune is painted blind with a muffler afore her eyes to signify to you that fortune is blind. And she's painted also with a wheel to signify to you, which is the moral of it, that she is turning and in constant immutability and variation, and her foot, look you, is on a spherical stone which rolls and rolls and rolls. In good truth, the poet makes a most excellent description of it. Fortune is an excellent moral.
Fortune is Bardolph's foe and frowns on him, for he hath stolen a pax, and hanged must be. A damned death. Let gallows gape for dog. Let men go free, and let not hemp his windpipe suffocate. But Exeter hath given the doom of death for pax of little price. Therefore, go speak. The Duke will hear thy voice, and let not Bardolph's vital thread be cut with edge of petty cord and vile reproach. Speak, Captain, for his life, and I will thee requite.
Ancient Pistol, I do partly understand your meaning.
Why then, rejoice therefore.
Certainly, Ancient, it is not a thing to rejoice at, for if you look it, he were my brother, I would desire the Duke to use his good pleasure and put him to execution, for discipline ought to be used.
Die and be damned, and figo for thy friendship.
It is well.
The fig of Spain.
Very good.
Exit Pistol.
This is an errant counterfeit rascal. I remember him now. A bawd, a cut purse.
I'll assure you, uttered as brave words at the bridge, as you shall see in a summer's day. But it is very well. What he has spoke to me, that is well. I warn you when time is served.
Why, 'tis a gull, a fool, a rogue that now and then goes to the wars to grace himself at his return into London under the form of a soldier. And such fellows are perfect in the great commanders' names, and they will learn you by rote where services were done at such and such a scaunt, at such a breach, at such a convoy, who came off bravely, who was shot, who disgraced, what terms the enemy stood on, and this they con perfectly in the phrase of war, which they trick up with new turned oaths. And what a beard of the general's cut and a horrid suit of the camp will do among the foaming bottles and ale-washed wits, it is wonderful to be thought on. But you must learn to know such slanders of the age, or else you must be marvelously mistook.
I tell you what, Captain Gower, I do perceive he is not the man that he would gladly make show to the world he is. If I find a hole in his coat, I will tell him my mind. Hark you, the king is coming, and I must speak with him from the bridge.
Enter King Henry, the Duke of Gloucester, and soldiers.
God bless your majesty.
How now, Fluellen? Camest thou from the bridge?
I so please your majesty. The Duke of Exeter has very gallantly maintained the bridge. The French is gone off, look you, and there is gallant and most brave passages. Mary, the adversary, was had possession of the bridge, but he is enforced to retire. And the Duke of Exeter is master of the bridge. I can tell your majesty, the Duke is a brave man.
What men have you lost, Fluellen?
The perdition of the adversary hath been very great, reasonably great. Mary, for my part, I think the Duke hath lost never a man.
Oh.
But one, that is like to be executed for robbing a church. One, Bardolph, if your majesty know the man.
Bardolph. Oh. We would have all such offenders so cut off, and we give express charge that in our marches through the country there be nothing compelled from the villages, nothing taken but paid for, none of the French upbraided or abused in disdainful language. For when lenity and cruelty play for a kingdom, the gentler gamester is the soonest winner.
Enter Montjoie.
You know me by my habit.
Well, then I know thee. What shall I know of thee?
My master's mind.
Unfold it.
Thus says my king, say thou to Harry of England, though we seemed dead, we did but sleep. Advantage is a better soldier than rashness. Tell him we could have rebuked him at Harfleur, but we thought not good to bruise an injury till it were full ripe. Now we speak upon our cue, and our voice is imperial. England shall repent his folly, see his weakness, and admire our sufferance. Bid him therefore consider of his ransom, which must proportion the losses we have borne, the subjects we have lost, the disgrace we have digested, which in weight to re-answer his pettiness would bow under. For our losses, his exchequer is too poor. For the effusion of our blood, the muster of his kingdom too faint a number. And for our disgrace, his own person, kneeling at our feet, but a weak and worthless satisfaction. To this I defiance, and tell him for conclusion, he hath betrayed his followers, whose condemnation is pronounced. So far, my king and master, so much my office.
What is thy name? I know thy quality.
Montjoie.
Thou dost thy office fairly. Turn thee back, and tell thy king I do not seek him now, but could be willing to march on to Calais without impeachment. For, to say the sooth, though 'tis no wisdom to confess so much unto an enemy of craft and vantage, my people are with sickness much enfeebled, my numbers lessened, and those few I have almost no better than so many French, who, when they are in health, I tell thee, Harold, I thought upon one pair of English legs did march 3 Frenchmen. Yet forgive me, God, that I do brag. This is your heir of France hath blown that vice in me. I must repent. Go, therefore, tell thy master, here I am. My ransom is this frail and worthless trunk, my army but a weak and sickly guard. Yet, God before, tell him we will come on, though France himself and such another neighbor stand in our way. There's for thy labor, Montjoie. Go bid thy master well advise himself. If we may pass, we will. If we be hindered, we shall your tawny ground with your red blood discolor. And so, Montjoie, fare you well. The sum of all our answer is but this. We would not seek a battle as we are, nor as we are, say we will not shun it. Go tell your master.
I shall deliver so. Thanks to your highness.
Exit Montjoie.
I hope that they will not come upon us now.
We are in God's hands, brother, not in theirs. March to the bridge. It now draws towards night. Beyond the river we'll encamp ourselves, and on tomorrow bid them march away.
Exeunt. Act 3, Scene 7. The French camp near Agincourt. Enter the Constable of France, Lord Rambure, the Duke of Orleans, and the Dauphin.
Tut! I have the best armor of the world. Would it were day!
You have an excellent armor, but let my horse have his due.
It is the best horse of Europe.
Will it never be morning?
My Lord of Orleans and my Lord High Constable, you talk of horse and armor?
You are as well provided of both as any prince in the world.
A long night this is. Oh! I will not change my horse with any that treads but on four pasterns. Sa! Ha! He bounds from the earth as if his entrails were hairs. Le cheval volant, the Pegasus, j'ai une narine de feu. When I am bestride him, I soar. I am a hawk. He trots the air. The earth sings when he touches it. The faintest horn of his hoof is more musical than the pipe of Hermes.
He's of the color of the nutmeg.
And the heat of the ginger. It is a beast for Perseus. He is pure air and fire, and the dull elements of earth and water never appear in him, but only in patient stillness, while his rider mounts him. He is indeed a horse, and all other jades you may call beasts.
Indeed, my lord, it is a most absolute and excellent horse.
It is the prince of palfreys. His neigh is like the bidding of a monarch, and his countenance enforces homage.
No more, cousin.
Nay, the man hath no wit, that cannot from the rising of the lark to the lodging of the lamb vary deserved praise on my palfrey. It is a theme as fluent as the sea. Turn the sands into eloquent tongues, and my horse is argument for them all. It is a subject for a sovereign to reason on, and for a sovereign's sovereign to ride on. And for the world, familiar to us and unknown, to lay apart their particular functions and wonder at him. I once read a sonnet in his praise, and began thus. Wonder of nature.
I have heard a sonnet begin so to one's mistress.
And they did imitate that which I composed to my courser. My horse is my mistress.
Your mistress bears well.
Me well, which is the prescript praise and perfection of a good and mistress.
Nay, for methought yesterday your mistress shrewdly shook your back.
So perhaps did yours.
Mine was not bridled.
Oh, then, belike she was old and gentle, and you rode like a kern of Ireland, your French hose off and in your straight trousers.
You have good judgment in horsemanship.
Be warned by me, then. They that ride so and ride not warily fall into foul bogs. I'd rather have my horse to my mistress.
I had as lief have my mistress a jade.
I tell thee, constable, my mistress wears his own hair.
I could make as true a boast as that if I had a sow to my mistress.
Le chien est retourné à son propre vomissement. Elle a tué la vie au bourbier. Huh. Thou makest use of anything.
Yet do I not use my horse for my mistress, or any such proverb so little kin to the purpose.
My Lord Constable, that arm I saw in your tent tonight, are those stars or suns upon it?
Oh, stars, my lord.
Some of them will fall tomorrow, I hope.
And yet my sky shall not want.
That may be, for you bear a many superfluously, and 'twere more honor some were away.
Even as your horse bears your praises, who would trot as well were some of your brags dismounted?
Would I were able to load him with his dessert. Oh, will it never be day? Oh, I will trot tomorrow a mile. My way shall be paved with English faces.
I will not say so, for fear I should be faced out of my way. But I would it were morning, for I would fain be about the ears of the English.
Who will go to Hazard with me for 20 prisoners?
You must first go yourself to Hazard ere you have them.
'Tis midnight. I'll go arm myself.
Exit the Dauphin.
The Dauphin longs for morning.
He longs to eat the English.
I think he will eat all he kills.
By the white hand of my lady, he's a gallant prince.
Swear by her foot that she may tread out the oath.
He is simply the most active gentleman of France.
Doing his activity, and he will still be doing.
He never did harm that I heard of.
Nor will do none tomorrow. He will keep that good name still.
I know him to be valiant.
I was told that by one who knows him better than you.
What's he?
Marry, he told me so himself, and he said he cared not who knew it.
He needs not. It is no hidden virtue in him.
By my faith, sir, but it is. Never anybody saw it but his lackey. 'Tis a hooded valor, and when it appears, it will bate.
Ill will never said well.
I will cap that proverb with, there is flattery in friendship.
And I will take that up with, give the devil his due.
Well placed. There stands your friend for the devil. Have at the very eye of that proverb with a pox of the devil.
You are the better at proverbs by how much a fool's bolt is soon shot.
You have shot over.
'Tis not the first time you were overshot.
Enter Montjoie.
My Lord High Constable, the English lie within 1,500 paces of your tents.
Who hath measured the ground?
The Lord Grandpré.
A valiant and most expert gentleman.
Exit Montjoie.
Would it were day. Alas, poor Harry of England, he longs not for the dawning as we do.
What a wretched and peevish fellow is this King of England, to mope with his fat-brained followers so far out of his knowledge.
If the English had any apprehension, they would run away.
That they lack, for if their heads had any intellectual armor, they could never wear such heavy headpieces.
That island of England breeds very valiant creatures. Their mastiffs are of unmatchable courage.
Foolish curs that run winking into the mouth of a Russian bear and have their heads crushed like rotten apples. You may as well say, that's a valiant flea that dare eat his breakfast on the lip of a lion.
Just. And the men do sympathize with the mastiffs in robustious and rough coming on, leaving their wits with their wives. And then give them great meals of beef and iron and steel. They will eat like wolves and fight like devils.
Aye, but these English are shrewdly out of beef.
Then we shall find tomorrow. They have only stomachs to eat and none to fight. Now is the time to arm. Come, shall we bout it?
It is now 2:00, but let me see. By 10, we shall have each 100 English men.
Exeunt. Intermission. Now, entertain conjecture of a time when creeping murmur and the pouring dark fills the wide vessel of the universe. From camp to camp, through the foul womb of night, the hum of either army stilly sounds, that the fixed sentinels almost receive the secret whispers of each other's watch. Fire answers fire, and through their paly flames each battle sees the other's umbered face. Steed threatens steed in high and boastful neighs, piercing the night's dull ear. And from the tents, the armorers, accomplishing the nights with busy hammers closing rivets up, give dreadful note of preparation. The country cocks do crow, the clocks do toll, and the third hour of drowsy morning name. The overconfident and overlusty French do the low-rated English play at dice, and chide the crippled tardy-gated knight, who, like a foul and ugly witch, doth limp so tediously away. The poor condemned English, like sacrifices, by their watchful fires sit patiently, and inly ruminate the morning's danger, and their gestures sad, investing Lankleen, cheeks and war-worn coats presenteth them unto the gazing moon so many horrid ghosts. Ah, now, who will behold the royal captain of this ruined band, walking from watch to watch, from tent to tent? Let him cry, praise and glory on his head, for forth he goes and visits all his host, bids them good morrow with a modest smile, and calls them brothers, friends, and countrymen. Upon his royal face there is no note how dread an army hath enrounded him, nor doth he dedicate one jot of color unto the weary and all-watched night, but freshly looks, and overbears a taint with cheerful semblance and sweet majesty, that every wretch prining in pale before, beholding him, plucks comfort from his looks. A largesse universal like the sun, his liberal eye doth give to everyone, thawing cold fear, that mean and gentle all behold, as may unworthiness define, a little touch of Harry in the night. Act 4, Scene 1, the English camp at Agincourt. Enter King Henry, the Duke of Bedford, and the Duke of York.
Cousin York, 'tis true that we are in great danger. The greater therefore should our courage be. Good morrow, brother Bedford. God Almighty, there is some soul of goodness in things evil. Would men observingly distill it out. For our bad neighbor makes us early stirs, which is both healthful and good husbandry. Besides, they are our outward consciences and preachers to us all, admonishing that we should dress us fairly for our end. Thus may we gather honey from the weed and make a moral of the devil himself.
Enter the Duke of Gloucester.
Good morrow, brother Gloucester. A good soft pillow for that noble head were better than a churlish turf of France.
Oh, not so, my liege. This lodging likes me better, for I may say now I lie like a king.
'Tis good for men to love their present pains upon example. So the spirit is eased, and when the mind is quickened out of doubt, the organs, though defunct and dead before, break up their drowsy grave and newly move with casted slough and fresh legerity. Oh, lend me thy cloak, good York. Brothers both, commend me to the princes in our camp. Do my good morrow to them, and anon desire them enter my pavilion.
We shall, my liege. Shall I attend your grace?
No, good cousin. Go with my brothers to my lords of England. I and my bosom must debate a while, and then I would no other company.
The Lord in heaven bless thee, noble Harry.
Exeunt all but King Henry. Enter Pistol.
Qui vala?
A friend.
Discuss unto me. Art thou officer, or art thou base, common, and popular?
I am a gentleman of a company.
Trailest thou the puissant pike?
Even so. Oh, what are you?
as good a gentleman as the emperor.
Then you are no better than the king.
The king's a ballcock and a heart of gold, a lad of life, an imp of fame, a parent's good, a fist most valiant. I kiss his bloody, dirty shoe and heartstring. I love the lovely bully. What is thy name?
Harry Leroy.
Roy. Cornish name. Art thou of Cornish crew?
No, I'm a Welshman.
Knowest thou Llewellyn?
Yes.
Tell him I'll knock his leek about his pate upon St. Davy's Day.
Do not you wear your dagger in your cap that day, lest he knock that about yours.
Art thou his friend?
And his kinsman too.
The figo for thee then.
I thank you. God be with you.
My name is Pistol Cold.
Exit Pistol.
It sorts well with your fierceness.
Enter Llewellyn and Gower.
Captain Llewellyn!
So, in the name of Jesus Christ, speak lower. It is the greatest admiration of the universal world, when the true and ancient prerogatives and laws in the wars is not kept. If you would take the pains but to examine the wars of Pompey the Great, you shall find, I warrant you, that there is no tittle-tattle nor pibble-pabble in Pompey's camp. I warrant you, you shall find the ceremonies of the wars and the cares of it and the forms of it and the sobriety of it and the modesty of it to be otherwise.
Why, the enemy is loud. You hear him all night.
If the enemy is an ass and a fool and a prating coxcomb, is it meet, think ye, that we should also look ye be an ass and a fool and a prating coxcomb? In your conscience now?
I will speak lower.
I pray you and beseech you that you will.
Exeunt Gower and Llewellyn.
Though it appears a little out of fashion, there is much care and valor in this Welshman.
Enter Nym and Williams.
Corporal Nym, is that not the morning which breaks yonder?
I think it be, but we have no great cause to desire the approach of day.
We see yonder the beginning of the day, but I think we shall never see the end of it. Who goes there?
A friend.
Under what captain serve you?
Under Sir Thomas Erpingham.
A good old commander, and a most kind gentleman. I pray you, what thinks he of our estate?
Even as men wrecked upon a sand that looked to be washed off the next tide.
He hath not told his thought to the king.
No, nor is it not meet he should, for though I speak it to you, I think the king is but a man, as I am. The violet smells to him as it doth to me. The element shows to him as it doth to me. All his senses have but human conditions. His ceremonies laid by, in his nakedness, he appears but a man. And though his affections are higher mounted than ours, yet when they stoop with the like wing. Therefore, when he sees reason of fears as we do, his fears, out of doubt, be of the same relish as ours are. Yet in reason, no man should possess him with any appearance of fear, lest he, by showing it, should dishearten his army.
He may show what outward courage he will, but I believe, as cold as a night it is, he could wish himself in the Thames up to the neck. So I would he were, and I by him at all adventures, so we were quit here.
By my troth, I will speak my conscience of the king. I think he would not wish himself anywhere but where he is.
Then I wish he were here alone, so he could be sure to be ransomed and many a poor man's life saved.
I dare say you love him not so ill to wish him here alone, howsoever you speak this to feel other men's minds. Methinks I could not die anywhere so contented as in the king's company, his cause being just and his quarrel honorable.
That's more than we know.
Aye, and more than we should seek after. For we know enough if we are the king's subjects. If his cause be wrong, our obedience to the king wipes the crime of it out of us.
But if the cause not be good, the king himself hath a heavy reckoning to make. when all those legs and arms and heads chopped off in battle shall join together at the latter day and cry all, we died at such a place, some swearing, some crying for a surgeon, some upon their wives left poor behind them, some upon the debts they owe, some upon their children rawly left. I am afeard there are few die well that die in battle. For how can they charitably dispose of anything when blood is their argument? Now, if these men do not die well, it will be a black matter for the king that led them to it, whom to disobey were against all proportion of subjection.
So, if a son that is by his father sent about merchandise do sinfully miscarry upon the sea, the imputation of his wickedness by your rule should be imposed upon his father that sent him? Or if a servant under his master's command transporting a sum of money be assailed by robbers and die in many irreconciled iniquities, you may call the business of the master the author of the servant's damnation? But this is not so. The king is not bound to answer the particular endings of his soldiers, the father of his son, nor the master of his servant, for they purpose not their death when they purpose their services. Besides, there is no king, be his cause never so spotless, if it come to the arbitrament of swords, can try it out with all unspotted soldiers. Some peradventure have on them the guilt of premeditated and contrived murder. Some of beguiling virgins with the broken seals of perjury. Some of making the wars their bulwark, that have before gored the gentle bosom of peace with pillage and robbery. Now, if these men have defeated the law and outrun native punishment, though they can outstrip men, they have no wings to fly from God. War is his beetle. War is vengeance, so that here men are punished for before breach of the king's laws, and now the king's quarrel. Where they feared the death, they have borne life away, and where they would be safe, they perish. Then, if they die unprovided, no more is the king guilty of their damnation than he was before guilty of those impieties for the which they are now visited. Every subject's duty is the king's, but every subject's soul is his own. Therefore, should every soldier in the wars do as every sick man in his bed, wash every mote out of his conscience, and dying so, death to him is an advantage. Or not dying, the time was blessedly lost wherein such preparation was gained. And in him that escapes, it were not sin to think that making God so free an offer, he let him outlive that day to see his greatness and to teach others how they should prepare.
'Tis certain that every man that dies ill, the ill upon his own head, the king is not to answer for it.
But I do not desire he should answer for me. And yet I determined to fight lustily for him.
I myself heard the king say he would not be ransomed.
He said so to make us fight cheerfully, but when our throats are cut, he may be ransomed and we ne'er the wiser.
If I live to see it, I will never trust his word after.
You pay him then. That's a perilous shot out of an elder gun that a poor and private displeasure can do against a monarch. You may as well go about to turn the sun to ice with fanning his face with a peacock's feather. You'll never trust his word after. Come, 'tis a foolish saying.
Your proof is something too round. I should be angry with you if the time were convenient.
Let it be a quarrel between us then, if you live.
Be friends, you English fools, be friends. We have French quarrels enough if you could tell how to reckon.
Indeed, the French may lay 20 French crowns to one they will beat us, for they bear them on their shoulders. But it is no English treason to cut French crowns, and tomorrow the king himself will be a clipper.
Exeunt Nym and Williams.
Upon the king. Let us live our lives, our souls, our debts, our careful wives, our children, and our sins lay on the king. We must bear all. Oh, hard condition. Twin-born with greatness, subject to the breath of every fool whose sense no more can feel but his own wringing. What infinite heart's ease must kings neglect that private men enjoy? And what of kings that privates have not too, save ceremony, save general ceremony? And what art thou, thou idle ceremony? What kind of God art thou that sufferest more of mortal griefs than do thy worshippers? What are thy rents? What are thy comings in? Oh, ceremony, show me but thy worth. What is the soul of adoration? Art thou aught else but place, degree, and form, creating awe and fear in other men, wherein thou art less happy being feared than they are in fearing? What drinkest thou off instead of homage sweet, but poisoned flattery? Oh, be sick, great greatness, and bid thy ceremony give thee cure. Thinkest thou the fiery fever will go out with titles blown from adulation? Will it give place to flexure and low bending? Canst thou, when thou commandest the beggar's knee, command the health of it? No, thou proud dream, that playest so subtly with a king's repose. I am a king that find thee, and I know 'tis not the balm, the scepter and the ball, the sword, the mace, the crown imperial, the intertissued robe of gold and pearl, the forced title running for the king, the throne he sits on, nor the tide of pomp that begets upon the high shores of this world. No, not all of these thrice gorgeous ceremony, not all these laid in bed majestical can sleep so soundly as the wretched churl who with a body filled and a vacant mind gets him to rest, crammed with distressful bread, never sees horrid night, the child of hell, but like a lackey from the rise to set, sweats in the eye of Phoebus, and all night sleeps in Elysium. Next day after dawn doth rise and help Hyperion to his horse, and follows so the ever-running year, with profitable labor to his grave. And but for ceremony, such a wretch, winding up days with toil and nights with sleep, had the forehand advantage of a king. The churl, a member of the country's peace, enjoys it, but in gross brain little wots what watch the king keeps to maintain the peace, whose hours the peasant best advantages.
Enter the Duke of Bedford.
My lord, your nobles, jealous of your absence, seek through your camp to find you.
Good Bedford, collect them all together at my tent, and I'll be before thee.
I shall, my lord.
Exit the Duke of Bedford.
God of battle, steel my soldiers' hearts, possess them not with fear. Take from them now the sense of reckoning. If the opposed numbers pluck their hearts from them, not today, O Lord, oh, not today. Think not upon the fault my father made encompassing the crown. I, Richard's body, have interred anew, and on it have bestowed more contrite tears than from it issued forced drops of blood. 500 poor have I in yearly pay, who twice a day with their withered hands hold up toward heaven to pardon blood. And I have built 2 chantries where the sad and solemn priests sing still for Richard's soul. More will I do, though all that I can do is nothing worth, since that my penitence comes after all, imploring pardon.
Enter the Duke of Gloucester.
My liege.
Yes, I know that errand. I will go with thee. The day, my friends, and all things stay from me.
Exeunt. Act 4, Scene 2, the French camp. Enter the Dauphin, the Duke of Orleans, and Lord Rambier.
The sun doth gild our armor. Up, my lords!
Montez cheval, my horse, bonnet, lackey! Ha!
Oh, brave spirit!
Via les yeux à la terre!
Rien puis? L'air et le feu!
Ciel, cousin Orléans.
Enter the Constable of France.
Now, my lord constable!
Mark how our steeds for present service neigh.
Mount them and make incision in their hides, that their hot blood may spin in English eyes, and doubt them with superfluous courage. Ha!
Lord Rambier unmutes.
What? Will you have them weep our horse blood? How shall we then behold their natural tears?
Enter Montjoie.
The English are embattled, you French peers.
To horse, you gallant princes, straight to horse. Do but behold yon poor and starved band, and your fair show shall suck away their souls, leaving them but the shales and husks of men. There is not work enough for all our hands, scarce blood enough in all their sickly veins to give each naked curtleax a stain that our French gallants shall today draw out and sheathe for lack of sport. Let us but blow on them. The vapor of our valor will o'erturn them. 'Tis positive, 'gainst all exceptions, lords, that our superfluous lackeys and our peasants, who in unnecessary actions swarm about our squares of battle, were enough to purge this field of such a hilding foe. Though we upon this mountain basis by took stand for idle speculation, but that our honors must not. What's to say? A very little let us do, and all is done. Then let the trumpet sound, the tucket sonnets, and the note to mount. For our approach shall so much dare the field, that England shall couch down in fear and yield.
Enter the Duke of Bourbon.
Why do you stay so long, my lords of France? Yon island carrions, desperate of their blood, ill-favored they become the morning field. Their ragged curtains poorly are let loose, and our air shakes them passing scornfully. Big Mars seems bankrupt in their bigoted hosts, and faintly through a rusty beaver peeps the horsemen sit like fixed candlesticks, with torch staves in their hands, and their poor dames lob down their heads, dropping the hides and bits, the guns down looking from their pale red eyes, and on their pale dull mouths their dimple bits lie foul with two wraps, still and motionless. And their executors, the knavish crows, fly o'er them, all impatient for their hour. Description cannot suit itself in words to demonstrate the life of such a battle, in life so lifeless as it shows itself.
They have said their prayers, and they stay for death.
Shall we go send them dinners and fresh suits, and give their fasting horses provender, and after fight with them?
I stay but for my guidon. To the field! I will the banner from a trumpet take, and use it for my haste. Come, come away! The sun is high, and we outwear the day!
Exeunt. Act 4, Scene 3. Enter the Dukes of Gloucester, Bedford, Exeter, and York, and the Earl of Westmoreland.
Where is the king?
The king himself is rode to view their battle.
Of fighting men they have full 70,000.
5 to 1. Besides, they are all fresh.
God's arms strike with us. 'Tis fearful odds, but God be with you, princes all to my charge. If no more meet till we meet in heaven, then joyfully, my noble Lord of Bedford, my dear Lord Gloucester, my good Lord Exeter, and my kind kinsmen, warriors all, adieu.
Farewell, good York, and good luck go with thee.
Farewell, kind lord. Fight valiantly today, and yet I do thee wrong to mind thee of it, for thou art framed of the firm truth of valor.
He is
Exit,
full
Duke of York.
He is full of valor, as of kindness, princely in both.
Enter the king.
Oh, that we now had here but 1/10,000 of those men in England that do no work today.
What's he that wishes so? My cousin Westmoreland? No, my fair cousin. If we are marked to die, we are enough to do our country loss. And if to live, the fewer men, the greater share of honor. God's will, I pray thee, wish not one man more. By Jove, I am not covetous for gold, nor care I who doth feed upon my cost. It yearns me not if men my garments wear. Such outward things dwell not in my desire. But if it be a sin to covet honor, I am the most offending soul alive. No, faith, my coz, wish not a man from England. God's peace, I would not lose so great an honor as one man more, methinks, would share from me for the best hope I have. Oh, do not wish for one more. Rather, Proclaim it, Westmoreland, through my host, that he which hath no stomach to this fight, let him depart. His passport shall be made, and crowns for convoy put into his purse. We would not die in that man's company that fears his fellowship to die with us. This day is called the Feast of Crispian. He that outlives this day and comes safe home will stand a tiptoe when this day is named, and rouse him at the name of Crispian. He that shall live this day and see old age will yearly on the vigil feast his neighbors and say, tomorrow is St. Crispian. Then will he strip his sleeve and show his scars and say, these wounds I had on Crispin's day. Old men forget, yet all shall be forgot. But he'll remember with advantages what feats he did that day. Then our names familiar in his mouth as household words, Harry the King, Bedford and Exeter, Warwick and York, Salisbury and Gloucester, be and their flowing cups freshly remembered. This story shall the good man teach his son, and Crispin Crispian shall ne'er go by from this day to the ending of the world, but we in it shall be remembered. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers, for he today that sheds his blood with me shall be my brother, be he ne'er so vile. This day shall gentle his condition, and gentlemen in England now abed shall think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap, whilst any speaks that fought with us upon St. Crispin's day.
Re-enter the Duke of York.
My sovereign lord, bestow yourself with speed. The French are bravely in their battle set, and will with all expedients charge on us.
All things are ready, if our minds be so.
Perish the man whose mind is backward now.
Thou dost not wish for more help from England, cuz?
God's will, my liege. Would you and I alone without more help could fight this royal battle?
Why, now thou hast unwished 5,000 men, which likes me better than to wish us one. You know your places. God be with you all.
Enter Montjoie.
Once more I come to know of thee, King Harry, if for thy ransom thou wilt now compound before thy most assured overthrow. For certainly thou art so near the gulf thou needs must be inglutted. Besides, in mercy, the constable desires thee thou wilt mind thy followers of repentance, that their souls may make a peaceful and sweet retire from off these fields, where, wretches, their poor bodies must lie and fester.
Who has sent thee now?
The Constable of France.
I pray thee, bear my former answer back. Bid them achieve me, and then sell my bones. Good God, why would they mock poor fellows thus? The man that once did sell the lion's skin while the beast lived was killed with hunting him. And many of our bodies shall no doubt find native graves, upon the which I trust such witness live in brass of this day's work. Those that leave their valiant bones in France, dying like men, though buried in your dunghills, they shall be famed, for there the sun shall greet them and draw their honors reeking up to heaven, leaving their earthly parts to choke your clime, the smell of which shall breed a plague in France. Mark then abounding valor in our English, that being dead, like to the bullets grazing, break out into a second course of mischief, killing in relapse of mortality. Let me speak proudly. Tell the constable we are but warriors for the working day. Our gayness and our guilt are all besmirched with rainy marching in the painful field. There's not a piece of feather in our host. Good argument, I hope. We will not fly, and time hath worn us in the slovenry. But by the mass, our hearts are in the trim, and my poor soldiers tell me yet ere night they'll be in fresher robes, or else they will pluck the gay new coats over the French soldiers' heads and turn them out of service. If they do this, and if God please they shall, my ransom then will soon be levied. Herald, save thou thy labor. Comes no more for ransom, gentle Herod. They shall have none, I swear, but these my joints, which if they have as I will leave them, shall yield them little. Tell the constable.
I shall, King Harry, and so fare thee well. Thou never shalt hear Harold any more.
Exit, Montjoie.
I fear thou once more come again for ransom.
My lord, most humbly on my knee, I beg the leading of the Voward.
Take it, brave York. Now, soldiers, march away, and how thou pleasest, God, dispose the day.
Exeunt. And so our scene must to the battle fly, where, oh, for pity, we shall much disgrace with 4 or 5 most vile and ragged foils, right ill disposed and brawl ridiculous, the name of Agincourt. Yet sit and see, minding true things by what their mockeries be. Act 4, Scene 4, the field of battle. Enter Pistol, a French soldier, and the boy.
Yield, cur!
Je pense que vous êtes gentilhomme de bonne qualité.
Quotite, call me Castor, may. Art thou a gentleman? What is thy name? Discuss.
Oh, Seigneur Dieu.
Oh, Seigneur Dieu should be a gentleman. Perpend my words, O Seigneur Dieu, and mark, O Seigneur Dieu, thou diest on point of fox, except, O Seigneur, thou do give to me egregious ransom.
Oh, prenez miséricorde, ayez pitié de moi.
Moi shall not serve. Oh, thy damned and luxurious mountain goat, I will have 40 mois, or I will fetch thy rim out of thy throat in drops of crimson blood.
Oh, pardonnez-moi.
Sayest thou me so? Is that a ton of mois? Come hither, boy. Ask me this slave in French. What is his name?
Écoutez, comment êtes-vous appelé? Monsieur le Fair. He says his name is Master Fair.
Master Fair. I'll fair him and firk him and ferret him. Discuss the same in French unto him.
I do not know the French for fair and ferret and firk.
Bid him prepare. I will cut his throat.
Que dit-il, monsieur? Il me commande de vous dire que vous faites vous prêt, car ces soldats ici et disposent tout à cette heure de couper votre gorge.
Away, coupe la gorge, permafoy, peasant, unless thou give me crowns. Brave crowns, or mangled shalt thou be by this my sword.
Je vous supplie, pour l'amour de Dieu, me pardonner. Je suis gentilhomme de bonne maison. Gardez ma vie et je vous donnerai 200 écus.
What are his words?
He prays you to save his life. He is a gentleman of a good house, and for his ransom, he will give you 200 crowns.
Tell him my fury shall abate, and I the crowns will take.
Petit monsieur, que dit-il? Encore qui est contre ce jurement de pardonner encore prisonnier. Mais moi, pour les écus que vous l'avez promis, il est content de vous donner la liberté et l'affranchissement. Sur mes genoux, je vous donne 1000 remerciements et je m'estime heureux que je suis tombé entre les mains d'un chevalier, je pense, le plus brave, vaillant et très distingué seigneur d'Angleterre.
Expound to me, boy.
He gives you upon his knees 1,000 thanks, and he esteems himself happy that he hath fallen into the hands of one, as he thinks, the most brave, valorous, and thrice worthy seigneur of England.
As I suck blood, I will some mercy show. Follow me.
Suiviez-vous, le grand capitaine?
Exeunt pistol and Lafer.
I must stay with the lackeys, with the luggage of our camp. The French might have a good prey of us if they knew of it, for there is none to guard it but boys.
Exit the boy. Act 4, Scene 3, Scene 5, another part of the field. Enter the Constable, the Duke of Orleans, the Duke of Bourbon, and the Dauphin.
Oh, diable!
Ah, Seigneur, le jour est perdu. Tout est perdu.
Mort de ma vie, all is confounded, all! Reproach and everlasting shame sits mocking in our plumes. Oh, méchante fortune, do not run away!
Why, all our ranks are broke.
Oh, perdurable shame, let's stab ourselves. Be these the wretches that we played at dice for?
Is this the king we sent to for his ransom?
Shame and eternal shame, nothing but shame. Let us die in honor once more, back again. And he that will not follow Bourbon now, let him go hence, and with his cap in hand, like a base panderer, hold the chamber door, whilst by a slave, no gentler than my dog, his fairest daughter is contaminated.
Disorder, that hath spoiled us. Friend us now. Let us on heaps. Go offer up our lives.
We are now yet living in the field to smother up the English in our throngs, if any order might be thought upon.
The devil take order now, all to the throng. Let life be short, else shame will be too long.
Exeunt. Act 4, Scene 6, another part of the field. Enter King Henry, the Duke of Exeter, and their forces.
Well have we done, thrice valiant countrymen, but all's not done, yet keep the French the field.
The Duke of York commends him to your majesty.
Lives he, good uncle? Thrice within this hour I saw him down, thrice up again, and fighting from helmet to the spur. All blood he was.
In which array, brave soldier, doth he lie, larding the field, larding the plain, and by his bloody side, yoke fellow to his honor-owing wounds, the noble Earl of Suffolk also lies. Suffolk first died, and York, all haggled over, comes to him, where in gore he lay ensteeped, and takes him by the beard, kisses the gashes that bloodily did spawn upon his face, and cries aloud, "Tarry, dear cousin Suffolk, my soul shall thine keep company to heaven. Tarry, sweet soul, for mine, and then fly abreast, as in this glorious and well-foughten field we kept together in our chivalry." Upon these words, I came and cheered him up. He smiled me in his face, wrought me his hand, and with a feeble grip says, "Dear my lord, command my service to me sovereign." And so did he turn, and over Suffolk's neck he threw his wounded arm and kissed his lips, and so, espoused to death, with blood he sealed a testament of noble ending love. The pretty and sweet manner of it forced those waters from me, which I would have stopped, but I had not so much of man in me. And all my mother came into mine eyes and gave me up to tears.
I blame you not. For hearing this, I must perforce compound with misful eyes, or they will issue too. But hark! What new alarm is this same? The French have reinforced their scattered men. Then every soldier kills his prisoners. Give the word through.
Exeunt. Act 4, Scene 7, another part of the field. Enter Fluellen and Gower.
Kill the boys and the luggage. 'Tis expressly against the law of arms. 'Tis as arrant a piece of knavery, mark you now, as can be offred in your conscience. Is it not?
It's certain there's not a boy left alive. And the cowardly rascals that ran from the battle had done the slaughter. Besides, they have burned and carried away all that was in the king's tent, wherefore the king most worthily has caused every soldier to cut his prisoner's throat. 'Tis a gallant king.
Aye. He was born at Monmouth, Captain Gower. What call you the town's name where Alexander the Great was born?
I think Alexander the Great was born at Macedon. His father was called Philip of Macedon, as I take it.
Think it is in Macedon where Alexander is born? I tell you, Captain, if you look in the maps of the world, I warrant you shall find in the comparisons between Macedon and Monmouth that the situations, look you, is both alike. There is a river in Macedon, and there is moreover a river at Monmouth. It is called Wye at Monmouth, but it is out of my brains what is the name of the other river. But 'tis all one. 'Tis alike as my fingers is to my fingers, and there are salmons in both. If you mark Alexander's life well, Harry of Monmouth's life has come after it indifferent well. For there's figures in all things. Alexander, God knows, and you know, and his rages and his furies and his wraths and his chollers and his moods and his displeasures and his indignations, and also being a little intoxicates in his brains, did in his ails and his angers, look you, kill his best friend Clitus.
Our king is not like him in that. He's never killed any of his friends.
It is not well done, mark you now. Take the tales out of my mouth ere it is made and finished. I speak but in the figures, in comparisons of it. As Alexander killed his friend Clitus, being his ales and his cups, so also Harry Monmouth, being in his right wits and good judgments, turned away the fat knight with the great belly doublet. He was full of jests and jibes and knaveries and mocks. I have forgot his name.
Sir John Falstaff.
That is he. I'll tell you, there is good men born at Monmouth.
Here comes His Majesty.
Enter King Henry, the Duke of Gloucester, and the Duke of Exeter.
I was not angry since I came to France until this instant. Take a trumpet, herald. Ride down to the horsemen on your hill. If they will fight with us, bid them come down, or void the field. They do offend our sight. If they'll do neither, we will come to them and make them scur away as swift as stones and force from the old Assyrian slings. Besides, we will cut the throats of those we have, and not a man of them that we shall take shall taste our mercy. Go and tell them so.
Enter Montjoie.
Here comes the herald of the French, my liege.
His eyes are humbler than they used to be.
How now? What means this, herald? Knowest thou not that I have fined these bones of mine for ransom? Comest thou again for ransom?
No, no, great king. I come to thee for charitable license, that we may wander o'er this bloody field to look our dead and then to bury them, to sort our nobles from our common men. For many of our princes will the while lie drowned and soaked in mercenary blood, so do our vulgar drench their peasant limbs in blood of princes, and their wounded steeds fret fetlock deep in gore, and with wild rage jerk out their armed heels against their masters, killing them twice. Give us leave great king, to view the field in safety and dispose of their dead bodies.
I tell thee truly, Harold, I know not if the day is ours or no, for yet a many of your horsemen peer and gallop o'er the field.
The day is yours.
Oh, praised be God, and not our strength for it. What is this castle called that stands hard by?
They call it Agincourt.
Then call we this the field of Agincourt, fought on the day of Crispin Crispianus. Oh, bring me just notice of the numbers dead.
Exit Montjoie.
Your grandfather, a famous memory, and please your majesty, and your great uncle Edward the Black Prince of Wales, as I have read in the chronicles, fought a most brave battle here in France.
They did, Fluellen.
Your majesty says very true. If your majesties is remembered of it, the Welshmen did good service in a garden where leeks did grow, wearing leeks in their Monmouth caps, which your majesty knows to this hour is an honorable badge of the service. And I do believe your majesty takes no scorn to wear the leek upon St. Davy's Day.
I wear it for a memorable honor. For I am Welsh, you know, good countryman.
All the water and wine cannot wash your majesty's Welsh blood out of your body, I can tell you that. God bless it and preserve it, as long as it pleases his grace and his majesty, too.
Thanks, good my countryman.
I just you. I am your majesty's countryman. I care not who knows it. I will confess it to all the world. I need not to be ashamed of your majesty. Praised be God, so long as your majesty is an honest man.
God, keep me so.
Exeunt. Act 4, Scene 8. Before King Henry's pavilion. Enter King Henry, the Duke of Exeter, and Fluellen.
Prisoners of good sort are taken, uncle?
Charles, Duke of Orleans, nephew to the king, Jean, Duke of Bourbon, and Lord Boucicault. Of other lords and barons, knights and squires, full 1,500 besides common men.
Enter Montjoie.
Now, Harold, are the dead numbered?
Here is the number of the slaughtered French.
Note doth tell me of 10,000 French that in the field lie slain. Of princes in this number and nobles bearing banner there lie dead 126. Added to these of knights, esquires, and gallant gentlemen, 8,400, of the which 500 were but yesterday dubbed knights. So that in these 10,000 they have lost, there are but 1,600 mercenaries. The rest are princes, barons, lords, knights, squires, and gentlemen of blood and quality. The names of those their nobles that lie dead: Charles de la Bresse, High Constable of France; Jacques of Chatillon, Admiral of France; the Master of the Crossbows, Lord Rambures; Grand Master of France, the brave Sir Guichon d'Olfan; John, Duke of Alençon; Anthony, Duke of Brabant, the brother of the Duke of Burgundy; and Edward, Duke of Bar. Of lusty earls, Grandpré and Roussy, Facambord and Foix, Beaumont and Morel, Voldemar and Lestrade. Here was a royal fellowship of death. Where's the number of our English dead? Edward, the Duke of York, the Earl of Suffolk, Sir Richard Kiteley, Davy Gam, Esquire, none else of name, and of all other men. but 25. O God, thy arm was here, and not to us, but thy arm alone ascribe me all, when, without stratagem, but in plain shock and even play of battle, was ever known so great and little loss on one part and on the other. Take it, God, for it is none but thine.
Wonderful.
Come, go we in procession to the village, and be it death proclaimed through our host to boast of this, or take the praise from God, which is his only.
Is it not lawful, and please your majesty, to tell how many is killed?
Yes, Captain, but with this acknowledgement, that God fought for us.
Yes, my conscience, he did us great good.
Do we all holy rites. Let there be sung non nobis in Te Deum, the dead with charity enclosed in clay, and then to England, and then to Calais, and then to England, whereon ne'er from France arrived more happy men.
Exeunt.
Non nobis Domine, Domine, non nobis Domine, sed nomine, tuota gloria. Non nobis Domine, non nobis Domine, sed nomine, tuota gloria. Non nobis Domine, non nobis Domine, sed nomine, tuota gloria.
Vouchsafe to those that have not read the story that I may prompt them, and of such as have, I humbly pray them to admit the excuse of time, of numbers, and due course of things which cannot in their huge and proper life be presented here. Now, we bear the king towards Calais. Grant him there. There seen, heave him away upon your winged thoughts athwart the sea. Behold, the English beach pales in the flood with men, with wives and boys, whose shouts and claps outvoice the deep-mouthed sea, which like a mighty whiffler for the king seems to prepare his way. So let him land, and solemnly set on to London. So swift a pace hath thought that even now you may imagine him upon Blackheath, where that his lords desire him to have borne his bruised helmet and his bended sword before him through the city. He forbids it, being free from vainness and self-glorious pride, giving full trophy, signal, and ostent quite from himself to God. But now behold, in the quick forge and working house of thought, how London doth pour out her citizens. The mayor and all his brethren in best sort, like to the senators of the antique Rome, with plebeians swarming at their heels, go forth and fetch their conquering Caesar in. Now in London place him. As yet, the lamentations of the French invites the King of England stay at home. The emperor's coming in on behalf of France to order peace between them, and omit all occurrences whatever chanced, till Harry's back again returned to France. There we must bring him, and myself have played the interim by remembering you 'tis past. Then brook abridgment and your eyes advance after your thoughts straight back to France. Act 4, Scene 1. France, the English camp. Enter Fluellen and...
Nay, that's right, but why wear you your leek today? St. David's Day is past.
There's occasions and causes why and wherefore and all things. I'll tell you, is my friend Captain Gower, the rascally, skull, beggarly, lousy, prating knave pistol, which you and yourself and all the world know to be no better than a fellow. Look ye now, of no merits he has come to me and brings me bread and salt yesterday, look ye, and bid me eat my leek. It was in place where I could not breed no contention with him, but I will be so bold as to wear it in my cap till I see him once again, and then I will tell him a little piece of my desires.
Enter Pistol.
Why, here he comes, swelling like a turkey cock.
'Tis no matter for his swellings, nor his turkey cocks. God bless you, ancient Pistol, you scurvy, lousy knave. God bless you.
Art thou bedlam? Dost thou thirst, base Trojan, to have me fold up Parca's fatal web? Hence! I am qualmish at the smell of leek.
I beseech you heartily, lousy, scurvy knave, at my desires, and my requests, and my petitions, to eat you, look you, this leek. Because, look you, you do not love it, nor your affections and your appetites and your digestions does not agree with it. I would desire you eat it.
Not for Cadwallader and all his goats.
Oh, there is one goat for you. Will you be so good, scald knave, as eat it?
Base Trojan, thou shalt die.
Oh, you say very true, scald knave. When God's will is. I will desire you to live in the meantime and eat your victuals. Come, there is sauce for it. You called me yesterday mountain squire, but I will make you today a squire of low degree. I pray you, fall to. If you can mock a leek, you can eat a leek.
Enough, Captain, you have astonished him.
Say, I will make him eat some part of my leek, or I will beat his pate for days. Bite, I pray you. It is good for your green wound and your bloody coxcomb.
Must I bite?
Yes, certainly, and out of doubt and out of question too, and ambiguities.
By this leek, I will most horribly revenge. I eat and eat. I swear.
Eat, I pray you. We have some more sauce to your leek. There's not enough leek to swear by.
Quiet thy cudgel. Thou dost see I eat.
Much good do ye, scald knave, heartily, nay. Pray you throw none away. Skin is good for your broken coxcomb. When you take occasion to see leeks hereafter, I pray you, mock at 'em, this is all.
Good.
I leeks is good. Hold you. There is a groat to heal your pate.
A groat.
Yea, verily, and in truth ye shall take it, or I have another leek in my pocket, which you shall eat.
I take thy groat in earnest of revenge.
If I owe you anything, I will pay you in cudgels. You should be a woodmonger, and buy nothing of me but cudgels. God be with you, and keep you, and heal your pate.
Exit Fluellen.
All hell shall stir for this.
Oh, go, go! You are a counterfeit cowardly knave. Will you mock at an ancient tradition begun upon honorable respect and worn as a memorable trophy of predeceased valor, and dare not avouch your deeds in any of your words? I have seen you gleeking and galling at this gentleman twice or thrice. You thought, because he could not speak English in the native garb, he could therefore not handle an English cudgel. You find it otherwise, and henceforth let a Welsh correction teach you a good English condition. Fare ye well.
Exit Gower.
Doth fortune play the huswife with me now? News have I that my Nell is dead in the spittle of malady of France. And there my rendezvous is quite cut off. Old do I wax, and from my weary limbs honor is cudgeled. Well, bawd I'll turn. Something lean to cut purse of quick hand. To England will I steal, and there I'll steal. Patches will I get into these cudgeled scars, and swear I got them in the Gallia wars.
Exit Pistol. Act 5, Scene 2. France, a royal palace. Enter at one door King Henry, the Duke of Exeter, the Earl of Westmoreland, and other lords. At another door, the French king, Queen Isabel, the Princess Catherine, Alice, and the Duke of Burgundy and his train.
Peace to this meeting, wherefore we are met, unto our brother France and to our sister, health and fair time of day. Joy and good wishes to our most fair and princely cousin, Catherine. And as a branch and member of this royalty by whom this great assembly is contrived, we do salute you, Duke of Burgundy, and Princes French and peers, health to you all.
Right joyous are we to behold your face, most worthy brother England, fairly met. So are you, princes, English, everyone.
So happy be the issue, brother England, of this good day and of this gracious meeting, as we are now glad to behold your eyes which hitherto have borne in them against the French, that met them in their bent the fatal balls of murderous basilisks. The venom of such looks we fairly hope have lost their quality, and that this day shall change all griefs and quarrels into love.
To cry amen to that, thus we appear.
You English princes all, I do salute you.
My duty to you both on equal love, great kings of France and England, that I have labored with my wits, my pains, and strong endeavors to bring your most imperial majesties unto this bar and royal interview, your mightinesses on both parts can best witness. Since then my office hath so far prevailed, that face to face and royal to eye you have congregated. Let it not disgrace me if I demand before this royal view what rub and what impediment there is, why that the naked, poor, and mangled piece, dear nurse of arts and joyful birth, should not in this best garden of the world, our fertile France, put up her lovely visage. Alas, she hath from France too long been chased, and all her husbandry doth lie on heaps, corrupting in its own fertility. Her vine, the merry cheerer of the heart, unpruned dies. Her hedges, even pleached, like prisoners wildly overgrown with hair, put forth disordered twigs. Her fallow leaves, the darnel, hemlock, and rank fumitory doth root upon, while that the coulter rusts that should deracinate such savagery. The even mead that erst brought sweetly forth the freckled cowslip, burnet, and green clover, wanting the scythe, all uncorrected, rank, conceives by idleness, and nothing teems but hateful docks, rough thistles, kexies, burrs, losing both beauty and utility. And as our vineyards, fallows, meads, and hedges, defective in their natures, grow to wildness, even so our houses and ourselves and our children have lost or do not learn for want of time the sciences that should become our country, but grow like savages, as soldiers do that nothing do but meditate on blood. to swearing, stern looks, diffused attire, and everything that seems unnatural. Which, to reduce into our former favor you are assembled, and my speech entreats that I may know the let, why gentle peace should not expel these inconveniences, and bless us with her former qualities.
If, Duke of Burgundy, you would the peace whose want gives growth to the imperfection you have cited, you must buy that peace with full accord to all our just demands, whose tenors and particular effects you have and scheduled briefly in your hands.
The king hath heard them, to which as yet there is no answer made.
Well, then the peace which you before us so urged lies in his answer.
I have but with a cursory eye or glanced the articles. Please it your grace to appoint some of your council presently to sit with us once more, with better heed to resurvey them. We will suddenly pass our accept and peremptory answer.
Brother, we shall. Go, Uncle Exeter, and Brother Clarence, and you, Brother Gloucester, Warwick and Huntington, go with the king, and take with you free power to ratify, augment, or alter as your wisdoms best shall see advantageable for our dignity. Anything that is in or out of our demands, and we'll consign thereto. Will you, fair sister, go with the princes or stay here with us?
Our gracious brother, I will go with them. Haply a woman's voice may do some good, when articles too nicely urged be stood on.
Yet leave our cousin Catherine here with us. She is our capital demand comprised within the forerank of our articles.
She has good leave.
Exeunt all except Henry, Catherine, and Alice.
Fair Catherine, and most fair, will you vouchsafe to teach a soldier terms such as will enter at a lady's ear and plead his love suit to her gentle heart?
Your Majesty shall market me. I cannot speak your England.
Oh, fair Catherine, if you will love me soundly with your French heart, I will be glad to hear you confess it brokenly with your English tongue. Do you like me, Kate?
Pardonnez-moi, I cannot tell what is like me.
An angel is like you, Kate, and you are like an angel.
Que dit-il? Que je suis semblable à les anges?
Oui, vraiment, sauf votre grâce, ainsi dit-il.
I said so, dear Catherine, and I must not blush to affirm it.
Oh, bon Dieu! Les langues des hommes sont pleines de tromperie.
Oh, what says she, fair one, that the tongues of men are full of the deceits?
Oui, that the tongues of the man is be full of deceits. That is the princess.
The princess is the better Englishwoman, in faith. Kate, my wooing is fit for thy understanding. I'm glad thou canst speak no better English, for thou wouldst find me such a plain king that thou wouldst think I had sold my farm to buy my crown. I know no ways to mince it in love, but directly to say, I love you. And then if you urge me further than to say, oh, do you in faith, I wear out my suit. Give me your answer, in faith, do. And so clap hands in a bargain. How say you, lady?
Sauf votre honneur, me understand well.
Mary, if you would put me to verses or to dance for your sake, Kate, why, you did undid me. For the one I have neither words nor measure, and for the other I have no strength in measure. Yet a reasonable measure in strength. If I could win a lady at leapfrog or by vaulting into my saddle with my armor on my back under the correction of bragging, be it spoken, I should quickly leap into a wife. Or if I might buffet for my love or bound my horse for her favors, I could lay on like a butcher and sit like a jack of apes, never off. But before God, Kate, I cannot look greenly nor gasp out my eloquence, nor I have no cunning in protestation, only downright oaths, which I never use till urged, nor never break for urging. If thou canst love a fellow of this temper, Kate, whose face is not worth sun-burning, then never looks in his glass for love of anything he sees there, let thy eyne be thy cook. I speak to thee, plain soldier. A good leg will fall, a straight back will stoop, a black beard will turn white. A curled pate will grow bald. A fair face will wither. A full eye will wax hollow. But a good heart, Kate, is the sun and the moon. Or rather the sun and not the moon, for it shines bright and it never changes but keeps his course truly. If thou wouldst have such a one, take me, and take me, take a soldier, take a soldier, take a king. And what sayest then to my love? Speak, my fair, and fairly I pray thee.
Is it possible that I should love the enemy of France?
No, Kate. It is not possible you should love the enemy of France, Kate, but in loving me, you should love the friend of France. For I love France so well that I would not part with a village of it. I will have it all mine. And Kate, when France is mine and I am yours, then yours is France and you are mine.
I cannot tell that is that.
No, Kate, I will tell thee in French, which I'm sure will hang upon my tongue like a new married wife about her husband's neck. Hardly to be shook off. Je compte sur la possession de France et quand vous avez la possession de moi. Let me see, what is it then? Saint Denis, be my speed. Dans votre est France et vous êtes bien. It's easy for me, Kate, to conquer the kingdom is to speak so much more French. I shall never move thee in French unless it be to laugh at me.
Sauf votre honneur. Le François que vous parlez, il est meilleur que l'anglais lequel je parle.
No, faith it is not, Kate, but thy speaking of my tongue and I thine, most truly falsely, must needs be granted to be much of one. But Kate, dost thou understand this much English? Canst thou love me?
I cannot tell. Your Majesty avait fausse French enough to deceive the most sage demoiselle that is in France.
Now, fie upon my false French. By mine honor, in true English, I love thee, Kate, by which honor I dare not swear thou lovest me. Yet my blood begins to flatter me that thou dost, notwithstanding the poor and untempering effect of my visage. Now, beshrew my father's ambition, he was thinking of civil wars when he got me. Therefore was I created with a stubborn outside, with an aspect of iron, that when I come to woo ladies, I fright them. But in faith, Kate, the elder I wax, the better I shall appear. My comfort is that in old age, that ill layer up of beauty can do more spoil my face. Thou hast me, if thou hast me, at the worst, and thou shalt wear me, if thou wear me, better and better. And therefore tell me, most fair Catherine, will you have me? Put off your maiden blushes, avouch the thoughts of your heart with the look of an empress. Take me by the hand and say, Harry of England, I am thine. Which word thou shalt no sooner bless mine ear withal, but I will tell thee aloud, England is thine, Ireland is thine, France is thine, and Harry Plantagenet is thine, who, though I speak it before his face, if he be not fellow with the best king, thou shalt find the best king of good fellows. Come, your answer in broken music, for thy voice is music, and thy English is broken. Therefore, queen of all, Catherine, break thy mind to me in broken English. Wilt thou have me?
That shall please the roi mon père.
Nay, it will please him well. Kate, it shall please him, Kate.
Then it shall also content me.
Upon that, I kiss your hand, and I call you my queen.
Laissez, monseigneur, laissez. Ma foi. Je ne veux point que vous abaissez votre grandeur en baisant la main d'une de votre seigneur indigne serviteur. Excusez-moi, je vous supplie, mon très puissant seigneur.
Then I will kiss your lips, Kate.
Les dames et demoiselles pour être baisées devant les nurtures. Ce n'est pas le coutume de France.
Madam, my interpreter, what says she?
That it not be the fashion for the ladies of France. I cannot tell what is baiser in English.
To kiss?
Your Majesty entendre better que moi.
It is not the fashion for the maids in France to kiss before they are married, would she say?
Oui, vraiment.
Oh, Kate. Nice cut some curtsies to great kings. Dear Kate, you and I cannot be confined within the weak list of a country's fashions. We are the makers of manners, Kate, and the liberty that follows our places stops the mouths of all fine faults, as I will do yours for upholding the nice fashion of your country and denying me a kiss. Therefore, patiently and yielding. You have witchcraft in your lips, Kate. There is more eloquence in a sugar touch of them than in the tongues of the French council, and they should sooner persuade Harry of England than a general petition of monarchs. Here comes your father.
Re-enter the French king and his queen, Burgundy, Exeter, Westmoreland, and their retinue.
God save your majesty. My royal cousin, teach you our princess English?
I would have her learn, my fair cousin, how perfectly I love her, and that is good English. Shall Kate be my wife?
So please you, we have consented to all terms of reason.
Is it so, my lords of England?
King hath granted every article, his daughter first, and then in sequel all, according to their firm proposed natures.
Only he hath not yet subscribed this. Where your majesty demands that the King of France, having any occasion to write for matter of grant, shall name your highness in this form and with this addition in French, Notre très chère fille Henri, roi d'Angleterre, héritier de France, and thus in Latin, Praeclarissimus filius noster Henricus, Rex Angliae et Ares Franciae.
Nor this I have not, brother, so denied, but your request shall make me let it pass.
I pray you then, in love and dear alliance, let that one article rank with the rest, and thereupon give me your daughter.
Take her, fair son, and from her blood raise up issue to me, that the contending kingdoms of France and England, whose very shores look pale with envy of each other's happiness, may cease their hatred, and this dear conjunction plant neighborhood and Christian-like accord in their sweet bosoms, that never war advance his bleeding sword twixt England and fair France.
Amen.
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 Now, welcome, Kate, and bear me witness to all that here I kiss her as my sovereign queen.
God, the best maker of all marriages, combine your hearts in one, your realms in one, as man and wife, being two, are one in love. So be there twixt your kingdoms such a spousal, that never may ill office or fell jealousy, which troubles oft the bed of blessed marriage, thrust in between the paction of these kingdoms, to make divorce of their incorporate league, that English may as French, French Englishmen receive each other. God speak this. Amen.
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 Prepare we for our marriage, on which day, my lord of Burgundy, will take your oath, and all the peers for surety of our leagues. Then shall I swear to Kate, and you to me, and may our oaths well kept and prosperous be.
Senet, exeunt. Thus far, with rough and all unable pen, our bending author hath pursued the story in little room confining mighty men, mangling by starts the full course of their glory. Small time, but in that small most greatly lived this star of England. Fortune made his sword, by which the world's garden be achieved, and of it left his son imperial lord.